Let's see if my internet holds out. What's up? Absolutely nobody. We won't get any viewers. I never do.
Well, you never know when something's going to pop off.
Yeah. I don't.
I was thinking about doing a podcast interview thing. I just haven't dedicated time to think about it. Just like interviewing people I know and shit like that.
Yeah. I was thinking about doing that for sculpting, because just getting a bunch of different sculptors on.
Sure.
Yeah. I talked to. I don't know if you know who the Shiflett brothers are.
I think you showed some of their work.
Yeah, I usually share their stuff. They're kind of like they're really like one of the first sculptors that like started doing figure stuff.
Okay.
Before it like boomed.
Nice.
Yeah, they've done stuff like for the Frazetta Museum and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I call them. Hey, there's Q. Add Q on. What's up, Q?
What's up? Back again.
Yeah, I'm calling this the Post Rich Show.
The Post Rich Show. That's new.
Yep. This is where we'll make fun of Rich.
Oh shit.
Discuss all the stupid stuff he said on his show.
Oh man!
Did you invite Checker Carol?
What's that?
Did you invite Carol?
I did not because you can invite her. Up.
I don't have her.
I don't either. I don't think. What's her? What's her Facebook handle? Do you know? I don't know if I'm friends with her on Facebook.
But I do know her YouTube account is just simply Carol Colors.
No, is her last name Craig? No, Craigs. Carolyn Craigs.
I have no clue.
No idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, she. If you can contact her, I'll send her the link. Anybody's welcome to come in as long as they make fun of Rich. So what are you guys working on? What are your current projects? What are you guys doing?
I'm actually thinking about, got 2 ideas for a new book. Trying to figure it out in my head before I start putting pen to paper.
Right.
Other than that, just constantly trying to advertise,
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, I started a TikTok channel, but I've been recycling videos I've done before. So now I think I've run out. So now I have to spend time making videos, which is kind of hit or miss. It's funny, man. You try all these things and stuff that try to get your name out there or whatever, but trying to see shit turn into sales, man, it just not.
I really found that at the height of when I was getting sales, it was because I was at comic shows, so I would get commissions and people would commission me there, and I'd take them back and stuff like that. But that would be my dog.
Yeah, I got a show on Saturday, and it's the second or third one of the year.
I haven't done a show in ages, man. Since I left New York.
I've done this show before. I kind of like it's at a new venue, but it's just so freaking exhausting at a certain point.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do multiple day shows because they're just super expensive.
Yeah. Then if you don't make profit,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always look at them as losses. Yeah.
Favorite show was Baltimore Comic Con. I found that to be the crowd seemed to be very art centered. Like they wanted to buy originals, you know.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So I reached out to them because I saw they were, they had a show earlier this year, but I think I contacted them too late, so I never heard back from them.
Yeah. One of the things I used to like about that show is that they do like a yearbook.
Yeah.
Where they feature like an artist, like, you know, one year it was who was it, Terry Moore. One year was Todd DeZago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they feature like an artist, and they, if you can get to be a part of the yearbook, you do a piece based on like that person's character, and you could like add in your own characters and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
They put it in this yearbook, and people who buy it can then go around and find, like, they put your booth number in the yearbook, so it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. And if they get everything signed,
Gotcha.
they sell off your original pieces in an auction, which is really cool. So, you know, it drives business to your table. You get to work on, you know, some famous artists' characters and stuff like that. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very, you know, artist friendly.
Yeah, they gave you like a hard, like two. They gave you the black, I think, like a black and white edition. They gave you two editions, and they're hardcovered, like almost like yearbooks. And yeah, so I used to like being involved with that. And that would drive people to the table where you would get commissions. I had actually someone bid on my Terry Moore piece that I did at the auction. It was nice. Yeah, pretty cool. Good
I
show.
did one years ago, and what the hell was it? I'm freaking brain dead. It was in Central Jersey, and the cool thing about that they did a thing at the door where it was similar to a scavenger hunt, but if the person at the door won a contest coming in, you won a like certain number, you get to come over to any artist and they'll do a commission for you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was interesting. I ended up drawing like this really weird fucking spider girl. So I just don't do most conventional characters, so it was always weird.
How about you, Q? What do you got going on? Books,
what I'm
projects?
drawing, so it's these are the Defenders, and from this side, and this is the cast of characters of the Defender. So I'm sorry. So I simply laid out who are the heroes and who are the villains. And for example, this Doctor Strange that when I drew Doctor Strange, I used the likeness of Johnny Depp in it.
Okay.
And for the villains on this side it's an obscure villain, goes by the name Cyrus Black, who's a villain for all of the Defenders, and he's a villain for Doctor Strange. So sometimes I pick up any particular looks from the villain based on other celebrities. For example, for this case, Cyrus Black, I used what's the name of that guy? James Woods looks.
Interesting. That's actually pretty smart. And people won't know why they're attracted to art, meanwhile you're using the celebrity likeness.
And it ain't new. For example, in Disney, they use any particular characters that they cast and use their facial features to distinguish them who's who. And in comics, the same thing. For example, the creation of Doctor Strange, the OG Doctor Strange, the original one, the one Steve Ditko made, he used the likeness of Vincent Price as
Yeah.
the.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Because anytime I picture Doctor Strange, I always think of Ditko and Vincent Price, because it all look the same. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's up, Pete? Say hello to Michael if he's still there. What's up, Michael? Haven't talked to Mike in a while. Michael is a comic book writer. Did cover for his book. And I can't think of the name. It's going to elude me right now. Some old.
Another funny example, when I was drawing Doctor Doom, for example, I picked the likeness of Joaquin Phoenix from Gladiator.
Mm-hmm.
Put
Yeah,
that his looks and boom.
Yeah, I'll do that when if I get commissioned to do pages. I'll ask the person what actor they think they'd want to see portraying their character, and then I can kind of gives me a mental visual of what the person is supposed to look like. So it's a good idea. I like it.
Simple but effective.
Yep.
And lastly, for example, another example I made for what was the name of the guy? Doctor Strange. Villains for Baron Mordo instead of from the MCU version. So I tried to distinguish them apart from the MCU version. Instead of no need to pick the same actor that you've seen from MCU. Try make them to distinguish between them. So for Baron Mordo in this case, I used looks likeness of Michael Shannon from
Interesting.
the Man of Steel.
Michael Shannon has a very distinctive face.
So you're right here. Boom. Here he is.
There you go. Nice.
That's a good idea. Very nice. Very nice.
So right now I'm doing with Cyrus Black with the likeness of James Woods.
James Woods.
It's amazing how big of a star he was at one point. Then I guess some point he retired, because I haven't seen him. Shit, man, it's been quite some time.
I haven't seen him since my poker days at what the hell do you like to play? Oh God, in Jersey, I can't think of the name of the casino, but he liked to play there a lot, and you would see him there.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah,
You better take a look at the comments.
I did. I saw the crying baby in the comments. Wah. Wah.
Traitors.
You know, maybe if you would show longer, people would stick around, you know?
Stick around.
Yeah, feel free to make fun of Rich. You're more than welcome. It's actually encouraged here.
It's actually encouraged.
Yeah, we encourage making fun of Rich as often as possible.
That's funny.
I figured I stole his guest on the show. Next, I'll be stealing his girl.
What the fuck? God damn.
And no mercy for Rich.
There you go.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
making a mess. So I'm a loser myself. I don't make fun of anyone. Oh, this is all in jest, Pete. We're not really making fun of. Well, yeah, we are. I'm lying. We are making fun of Rich. I don't want to lie to you. No, I'm kidding. We love Rich. Kind of like you have that one family member. It's like, yeah, we tolerate him.
So you use it as a tribute.
That's right. It's a tribute to Rich. Rich. He loves when I do that.
Jim O'Reilly, Mr. Steele, your guest / girl.
That's right. Don't get it twisted.
Oh,
The Line of the West.
That's right. Next, I'll steal your artwork. It's next.
start stealing the style.
That's right.
Start making imitations of his work.
That's right. I can already. Wait a minute here. Do There, I made it even better.
Hey, Carissa.
There you go.
Let me look at it.
What's
Oh,
up?
shit.
Such a perfect face.
Work. What are you doing there? Grumble. Doc Balak. Grumble. Doc Balak. God, even my avatar doesn't want to stay that ugly that long.
Oh man, you guys, have you guys watched The Penguin any?
Oh God, I love it. It's.
The what?
I'm watching it.
Oh, yeah, the series.
Yeah. Good show. It's just I always find it weird because I keep wondering if Batman's ever going to show up.
I do the same thing. I said that to my wife the other night. Is Batman going to show? You think Batman's going to show? Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with it. And also, then it makes me wonder because I'm like, how does he even come up on their on Batman's radar? You know?
Yeah. Well, I think they're just building up his like backstory.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's not the traditional kind of comic book story. It's more like a good mafia show, you know?
I think HBO is like, we need a show that's like The Sopranos, but superheroes or, superhero universe. And somebody figured it out, Well, you got to figure they had this in motion from the movie because he played Penguin in the movie.
Right. Yep.
I had no idea. I didn't recognize him in the movie, honestly.
Yeah, I put the link in the chat there. If anybody wants to join in, make fun of Rich.
It's the Rich after show.
It's a prerequisite being on the show.
The after party.
It's the after party. Show after party. Yeah, I kept thinking I was going to bail by like the second episode, but whatever. But
it's actually a pretty good story.
Yeah, I mean, her time in Arkham was very interesting.
Yeah, I'm digging it. I think I watched the recent episode last night.
Yeah. Then even like the kid's background when he shows how he lost his parents. They mentioned it earlier. You don't really think about it until they show you the vision. And I thought they did a really good job of it because, like, even to the point where when the levee broke and you saw the vibration on the roof, and then you see the visual of it.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's pretty cool. I like how they did. They spent time thinking about it.
Yep. I guess it's the hardest hit area was where he grew up, and they're tying that in, which is cool because they're really going into the underbelly of Gotham.
Yeah.
You know,
And I mean, it also
Yeah.
creates this whole class system where I remember years ago they did that for back when I was just about to quit reading comics. They did Nightwing, and there was a massive earthquake, and everything revolved around the aftermath of that in the city. So they're kind of playing that in a way because that whole area is just shot out. It's almost lawless.
Here, buddy. Let me introduce you to Pete Vasquez. What's up, Pete?
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Oh.
How you
Good.
doing?
How are you doing?
What's up, Pete?
Hi. Is my microphone okay?
Yep.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, making sure. So
Okay.
I've been having some technical difficulties, and I've been at New York Comic Con all weekend, so I had no chance to fix anything.
How'd New York go for you? Good?
It was our studio's 10th anniversary at New York Comic Con. I've been gone every year since its inception, but this is our 10th year behind the table. And
Nice.
for the 10th year, thank you. For the 10th year, we decided to go big or go home. Considering we're called Fat Guy Inc., it's a great idea. So we had two corner booths next to each other. So basically, we had we had a 10 by 20 by 10 end cap.
Doing a Neil Adams.
Yeah, let me tell you, and we took a beating, but it was great.
Yeah.
An absolute beating.
That's
Took
come.
a beating.
Yeah.
Absolute beating. And we had help too. We had assistants. My friend's wife was there. My sister was there. We had help, but it was still, it was a bit of a beating, but it was great. It was New York Comic Con is changing a little bit for the better as far as I'm concerned, because how everybody thought, it's not a Comic Con anymore. Well, guess what? Just in the tri-state New York area, there's 4 comic book only shows every month that you can go to.
Right.
So if you want a comic book only show,
Right.
it exists. If you want a cosplay only show, it exists. If you want a kids show, it exists. If you want a cosplay show, an anime show, it exists. So everyone who always says, there's no Comic Cons anymore, you're not looking. That's just after years of doing shows and stuff like that. I mean, you're just not looking. And 2 of these comic book only shows are in VFWs if you want to get any more old school, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God, that's old. Yeah.
Yeah, that's old school. I'm aging myself too. But New York Comic Con is definitely leaning into being pop culture, but at the same time, it's leaning away from San Diego.
Okay.
It's the quote a couple years ago. The explanation was a couple years. Somebody asked Kevin Smith, like right before COVID, what's the difference between both shows? Because he's in both worlds, right? Movies, and he's a New York guy, an East Coast guy anyway, a comic book guy. So he said, well, San Diego is glitz, glamour, Hollywood. You go to see celebrities. There's barely a comic book in the building, right?
Right.
You go to New York, Brad Pitt could be standing in front of something. You'd be like, hey, Brad, could you excuse me, please? The long box you're standing in front of still has my issue of New Mutant 72 that I have to get. I got to get to that long box. Like, do we look for celebrities there? Yeah. Do we really care? It's New York. We really don't. It's different.
Yeah. I
And then
enjoyed
they've
Done one in about 8 years.
they've escalated things. Now that the Javits is done being, anybody who knows, the Javits Center is enormous.
finished.
Yeah.
But it over the last few years, right before COVID, really, it was under construction like every year.
Yep.
So they couldn't use the whole thing. Now that it's completely done and amazing, they use every corner of it. Every inch of the Javits is New York Comic Con.
So have they expanded Artist Alley?
Yes. Artist
Yeah.
Alley is all the way. Artist Alley is basically next, is in one of the halls next to where autographing and stuff is. But it's an air. But people are like, well, what does that mean size wise? I'll tell you exactly what that means. It's an airplane hangar.
Yeah.
It's basically the size of an airplane hangar. Like New
Oh,
York
God
Comic Con
damn.
is the Javits Center is about 3 to 4 New York City blocks.
Yep.
And it's got 4 floors to it. There's the main floor. In one of the upstairs areas where they used to have, how sometimes they used to have New York Anime Fest or the Artist Alley many years ago.
Remember they used to have that. Yes.
Right. Well, that's now a cosplay place where if the cosplayers want to go get repairs done, they want to sit and rest, photo shoots, stuff like that. They got a whole area for them. They still walk the floor. Don't get me wrong. They're everywhere.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. But now they have a dedicated area for them, which is great. And fans can go there too, of course. But, it's like, if you want to meet blah, 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 she'll be here. If you want to meet blah, 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 he'll be here. They had cosplay related panels and stuff up there. Then they had a tabletop downstairs. They had a straight up gaming tabletop section.
So they're using all 4 floors for the
Everything,
Comic-Con?
the entire Javits, the entire
Wow.
building is being used. Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy.
Well, that's good. That's expanding. I enjoyed going there, but like you said, you get beat up just for the amount of money you throw out there. And
Yeah.
it's a struggle as it is. But
Nice.
last time I went, other friends of mine I've known for years had a table next to us, so we put it together and make it a super table.
Right. There you go. See, our plus and minus, which adds, and you'll understand this in a second. We are not an artist alley. We felt well. First off, now I've always felt I don't belong in artist alley. I don't. I'll have a book again per se, and we self-published our own books, but we're not primarily comic book guys. We're artists. We just make stuff, you know.
Right.
So artist alley, I didn't want to like take up space from somebody who deserves to be there, or B, I didn't feel. And these are local guys to me. Remember, I'm on Long Island, so I know these guys too, which is really cool. But I'm like, I shouldn't be in the same room with Billy Tucci or Scott Snyder or these guys. I just don't. I don't belong with them. And it's fine. I'm okay with that. Don't worry. Because look, I've never spoken comics with Billy Tucci, but we talk all the time about hockey, hunting, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, but Billy's one of the greatest. If you ever get to speak with him. He's one of the greatest human beings in the world. Same thing with Scott Snyder. We have the same local comic book shop, Fourth World Comics out here on Long Island, which was really cool. He did an interview at San Diego this year. Oh, folks, here's Mr. Scott Snyder, blah, 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 Batman, blah, 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 blah. He's wearing my comic book shop shirt.
Nice.
But the guys are like, why are you fangirling out so much? They're like, he's wearing our shop. I have that shirt. He's wearing our shop shirt. You know, it was really cool. It was just a really surreal moment. I love Scott Snyder. I think he and Greg Capullo, who's another one of my favorites, single-handedly saved Batman. But that's another conversation. But so we're on the main floor. We've always been on the main floor.
Are you like small press? Is that
Small press got a couple years ago. Small press got cut down a little bit.
okay?
Because they were able to use more of they were able to make a bigger artist alley. So a lot of small press got to go inside artist alley.
Artist alley. All right.
Where to be honest with you, where it'll get more eyes on it, you know, and maybe somebody like a Scott Snyder or a Jeff Loeb or somebody like that will walk by and be like, "What's this Dogfish book you got going on here?" And you know, maybe for somebody from Image will be like this. Maybe you'll get discovered a lot easier if luck to be have it in artist alley than small press, I believe. But there still is a really great presence in small press. But we are connected to small press. I don't know if you're familiar with the Javits or the main floor of New York Comic Con. Do you remember years ago where Jerry's Artorama used to be in that back wall? Where you know how there's a lower part of the roof on the Javit, the ceiling?
Yeah.
We are in that lower part.
Okay.
Right next to where Jerry's used to be. Like I could easily there's the back wall is probably 20 feet away from it.
Okay.
So we have our 10 by 20 by 10 end cap is right there for all the world to see. And it is absolutely glorious. It's a great spot. We love it. Pry it out of my cold, dead hands. It's the only way you're getting it. But we're super happy. And I don't know who it was that said it, but the just with the regular corner, the financial responsibility is pretty intense, even though we're sharing it, you know, two artists, one studio.
Yeah.
But doubling that, that kind of hit on Thursday is like, holy shit, I got twice the bills. I got twice the stuff. I got twice like, holy shit. And it was pretty intense, but it was pretty cool. It was, I had to get my mind wasn't exactly set for it. My mind was still in, hey, I have an 8-foot table at New York Comic Con on the main floor. Cool. No, now I have 18 feet worth of excuse me. You know, I'm like, oh shit.
Sometimes bigger is more, you know, more headache.
Bigger is just more work. It was just more work. Yeah, it was a lot more work. I didn't draw as much because of it. Normally, I'm pumping out commissions for people. I wasn't able to as much this year, but that the good news is I had a moment of clarity Saturday night, and in that moment of clarity, when I woke up and I had a shitload of ideas, I wrote them all down to get ready for next year. You know, to already start getting ready for next year and things.
Yeah, you got to plan New York in advance.
We usually the planning starts a good 6 to 8 months before, but now I'm planning I've already started planning now. I have prints. I do drawings. I have commissions, and I do paintings. Okay, I do some fan art paintings. I do some original paintings. Nice mix of both. Jim's seen a lot of my stuff. A lot of mashups, a lot of things like that. Like one of the pieces I'm very much well known for, and which will be a comic book very soon. I'm almost done with preliminary pencils. I did a piece called Attack on Cookie. If you're familiar with Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that first episode, if you've seen the anime, read the manga, you know that first book, that first episode of the anime is intense. It's intense. So a friend of mine, and I don't know if you know the writer, Jay Hewer. We got together. Yeah, he's another local Long Island guy. We bullshitted about it a little bit. He goes, "Let me write a short story." He ended up writing a comic, and he wrote something completely different. I just did it. Let's put Cookie Monster into place of the Colossal Titan and turn the buildings into milk and cookies to make it funny. Cool.
Jay works with Ben Ferrari, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think Jay, did he write the Carriers? I don't think he wrote. No, Erica Heflin wrote Carriers.
But he was involved pretty heavily with Carriers, though.
Yeah, that's my first
he was
book.
in on it. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I had the first 12 pages in the Carriers in the very first issue.
Jay is one of my favorite human beings in the world. I'm actually going to share what Attack on Cookie looks like.
Yeah, go ahead.
So everybody can get a peek. Jay's great people. I love Jay to death. There it is. So that's what I did. 11 years ago, I did that. Right.
Nice.
So Jay wrote a story, and I'm reading it, and it is the epitome of satire. We created, and I added a few things, and we created a different world. I give the quick pitch, right? You know, in the world of Attack on Titan, humanity hides behind the walls because of these monsters, and they venture out every once in a while to protect themselves or to figure out what's going on. In our world, humanity's lust for fossil fuels forced them behind the walls, and they only venture out when they need the last remaining fossil fuel. Okay. And protecting it are these monsters. That last fuel is sesame oil.
That's funny.
Sesame Street.
That's funny.
So we created a whole different thing. Like it looks a little bit like Attack on Titan, and they look a little bit like Muppets, but they're doing completely different things. And I've had 2 lawyers already tell me, he's like, "Oh, you totally Weird Al this, didn't you?" And I'm like, "Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted." Because Michael Jackson tried to sue Weird Al 20 times, and none of them went to court because he was within his parody laws. So
it's a parody stuff, but you can get past it. Like Don Chin, he did X-Force. I don't know if you remember X-Force.
Yep.
There's a whole spoof on X-Men or X-Force rather, and
right.
You know, you gotta work with it.
Yeah. So we're also tiny. So we're tiny. So number one, Viz isn't going to come after us. They're not. They came after some people, but that was a different thing. They went after the AI and the print monkeys, the guys with the 2,000 foot 2,000 prints that they get off the internet and stuff like. They went after those guys. We have paintings. Paintings is actually, if you read, paintings are actually covered under copyright because they're one and done. You know, we don't have 50,000 paintings of one Pikachu. So we have one Pikachu painting and that's it. And it's all different. Usually some stupid shit going on, so it's great. But I'm
not a lawyer and I don't offer legal advice. But people ask, well, how do you get around with that with prints and you're doing other people's IPs? I said, well, you got to consider it like what's called playground law, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're in a school playground and you got to keep all the kids in line, and you have the teacher who's the lawyer, and as long as you don't do anything that's totally egregious and you stay within the bounds of the playground, you're not really going to get in trouble.
That's it.
But that's it. Can you? Sure. Any Marvel, DC, any they could send somebody in and say, hey, stop selling that. That's our character. They're not gonna. And the reason they're not gonna, one, is costly. Lawyers cost a lot. 2, it's free advertising for them. And 3, you're not impacting their bottom line, like in any way, shape, or form. So
remember how Toho used to go after people all the time?
Yep.
I mean like you said, nobody wants to spend the money or the expense
Sure.
going after it anymore.
It's playground law, you know. Is it against the law? Sure. Is it something that you're going to get prosecuted for? Nah, you might get a cease and desist every once in a while, but you know, as long as you stay within the confines.
That's why we keep all our stuff, and I'll explain eloquently in a second. We keep all our stuff. I never have more on me than 5 prints of one thing, and all total, I never have more than 10.
Yep.
And and I keep changing things and doing stuff, and I keep sliding in my own stuff anyway. So I have a lot more, you know. But also, half the stuff I have is a mashup.
Sure.
Which is, you know, and then the other thing, like you said, playground rules.
Yep.
The other thing about it, though, I mean, you got to make it your own.
Exactly.
You know, and that's a big one that a lot of people miss. If you make it your own, you're doing kind of okay. And at the end of the day, I had a lady at a show this summer. It was a market, so I had some gift ideas, you know, some of the little 6x6 paintings, Pikachu, whatever, doing with Pikachu with the baseball bat, you know, Mets hat, Yankees hat, that kind of shit. But on the other side of the table, on the other table that I had all my paintings, all my graffiti stuff, all my portraits,
right,
all of my stuff,
right,
my Japanese masks, you know, all that, my
things,
samurai stuff,
right, indicted to you. Yep.
Yes, sir. And the lady goes, "Oh, I've been watching your stuff. Now I understand." I'm like, "Please." She goes, "You do all this Pikachu shit to pay for you doing all your regular stuff that you want to do." I'm like, "Ma'am, I love you. I absolutely love you."
I mean, you're always going to get commissions of people who want, you know,
Yeah,
want the Marvel character. They want
Yep.
you to draw Spider-Man. You know, they want you to draw you know, Doctor Strange. It's going to happen. You're an artist. You know.
Yep. And look, they can't commission Jim. And as much as I would love to, if I had the income, I would. I'd commission Jim Lee for $20 million for the $20,000 that he charges. I can't afford that. I'm a lot cheaper than Jim.
Yeah.
I'm
we all are.
So,
but you know what? I say, look, people have the right to charge whatever they want for their art.
Absolutely.
And people have the right to pay for whatever they want to pay for art. You know, so you can't fault Jim Lee for charging what he charges. That's what he wants to charge. If he gets
I thank him for it.
You know,
as a nobody, I thank him for that, because let's whether you like him or not, whether as artists or as comic book guys we like his style or not, I happen to love it, but he's the top of the pecking order. He is. He's like, you want to draw like, I want to draw like Jim Lee. I want to draw, you know, there's a handful of guys that you wanted to draw like, and Jim Lee's in that conversation. He's one of the guys you always wanted to draw like. Some, you know, his anatomy, his this, his that. I have his copy. I have 9 copies of his X-Men, whatever. But for him charging what he charges allows me to make a living, you know, busting out an 11x17 for $100 for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, so thank you, Jim. I appreciate you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Making my life easier so I can charge what I have to. So
I calculated it out. If he does 4 11x17s, he could buy himself a new house.
Well, that's he only does 10. He limits it to 10 for a show, and he gets to choose which 10.
4 pays for his house.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, think about it.
And if he does 5 shows, like he could be bi-coastal.
Yeah. You can't fault anybody for charging what they want to charge for their art. You know, if they get it, hey, great. You know, if there's one pay that, great.
One year in New York, J. Scott Campbell, another one who can charge whatever he wants, had a limited print, and it was an exclusive print, but it was nice. It was on a heavy card stock, and it was like a 16 by 20. It was big. It was like almost as if it was on illustration board, right?
Right.
A little thinner than illustration board. And I was like, ooh, and he only had 150. So I was like, I wonder how much that is. $1,250. Okay. And it was sold out by Thursday. So I'm like, okay, all right, okay, you know what? But that's J. Scott Campbell. So
yeah,
I think you have to balance between, you know, at least artists have to balance between how you want to live and doing your art. You know, to me, money isn't really why I do art. You know, I'm not
No.
pushing to sell. I love creating things. If it finds a home, I'm happy. If it finds a home within someone's budget, makes me a little happier too, helps me buy supplies. So, I think if you're pushing to make a living in art, I think it's not a bad thing. I think people do it, obviously. People who are talented can do it. But I think if you stress it, if it allows you to affect you and stress you out and becomes a source of you not creating, then you kind of got to reconsider what you're
Yeah.
doing, why you're doing it.
Amen to that. I'm a bartender. Been a bartender for 30 years. Going to be a bartender forever, probably. Cool. Whatever. Am I an artist too? Sure. Am I doing conventions and stuff? Look, I'll be quite honest with you. Before COVID, I was on track to be doing this full time, going to cons full time. Couldn't wait, but it was paying for itself and then some. Great. My day job was paying for life. This is a cool hat. I'm happy with that medium, and I'm slowly getting that medium back. But at the same time, like I said before, I think it's tougher when you're a comic book artist. Like I'm a comic book artist.
Mhm.
It's tougher because you need people to buy your stuff. You need people to, to pay you to do a cover or sequentials or something.
Mhm.
I'm just an artist. Like you just said, I'm just an artist. I make stuff. I'm always going to make stuff. I'll take it a step further. My idea, if somebody buys my stuff, cool. If somebody doesn't buy my stuff, cool. That's not even what I'm looking for most of the time. Most of the time I'm just trying to elicit a reaction.
Yeah.
I want you to hate it. I want you to love it, one way or the other. I want you to have some kind of emotional, like, oh, that's cool. Great. I win. Oh, that sucks. Okay, cool. I still win. That's my outlook on it. That's what I'm for. It's I already like my art if I'm showing it. If I'm showing it in public, I already like it. So,
Yeah, I think people can get overly stressed out, and it affects the creative process. I think that's when it becomes a negative thing.
agreed.
And it's not like it's not like we live in the times, where you have benefactors, people like who would go around looking for artists to support, and they would gobble up all the work. There's not really a lot of that too much anymore. And if you're fortunate enough to have that, that's great. But I think you gotta create for the sake of creating sometimes to
Mhm.
get your expression out, onto
Yep.
whatever medium you're working on. And I usually find that I like my work more when I'm not thinking about, am I doing this for money?
I'm just making
Versus,
stuff.
yeah. Rather
I think
I really like this. I gotta do it.
I think a lot of today's modern fine art destroyed the sponsors a little bit. Oh, look, it's a square. Shut up. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Banana
Stop that.
on the wall.
Yeah, there's somewhere after Basquiat and Keith Haring, where these guys started just doing shapes on a wall,
Yeah.
and or a white canvas with a dot.
Mm.
Somewhere they tricked some art sponsor somewhere to be like, this is
Yeah.
amazing. It's so contrite. It's so it's obscure. It's blah blah blah. And they
I remember Keith Haring when he first started going from the black felt stuff in the subways to actually having shows.
Yep.
And that's when things changed. Like you said, all of a sudden he's having a invite only showing at a gallery.
Which probably wasn't his idea.
No, it was.
Not blaming for it, but things changed after
His handlers. Yeah.
Sure.
His handlers. Yeah. People who were getting money from it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's when things started. Yeah. Because look, I was in the 80s. I was a kid. I was 12, 13, but I was watching MTV. And who were the three artists on MTV? Warhol, Haring, and Basquiat.
Yeah.
And who are three huge influences on what I do when I do stuff? Warhol, Haring, and Basquiat. Like to the point where we did, at soccer games when they raise a big banner and it's a painted thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple years ago, everybody was spitballing ideas for one. I'm a New York City Football Club supporter, and they said, "Oh, we should do like a thing. It should be very New York unifying, and it should be art, art related. It's like, yeah, but a Basquiat would be too weird. Nobody would get it. Nobody would get this. Nobody would get this." And my friend and I at the same time, Keith Haring. Let's do it, Keith Haring. And we did, and they did, and it was It was the most beautiful thing because it was Keith Haring really had a special quality. I don't want to say an innocence, but he had a special quality of using images to convey words.
Yeah.
You know, he was so good at that. I wish he was still around, but he really spoke to a lot of us growing up and things like that.
There was a
But
lot
yeah,
of stuff happening because I remember that. I remember like Herring kind of brushed into the whole graffiti thing, and a lot of people I knew got influenced by that because he did a mural right off of Canal Street. It was in some little store. Nobody paid attention to it until everybody realized it was a Herring, and then it was like everybody losing their goddamn mind over it. But I had two friends that were graffiti artists at the time, and he just, it was like you said, it was a perfect storm of him doing the subway stuff, him inviting all those graffiti artists who were out there doing their own shit, but all of a sudden he was inviting them to gallery openings, and they were putting up stuff, and there was all this other stuff. So it just
New York up the cover.
Yeah, it just generated more and more. You know,
there is in the Bronx. There is a handball court where Herring did the crack is whack on the wall, an entire handball thing in 1980, whatever.
Yep.
It's protected by the city, but it doesn't need to be because no one would touch it because it's Keith fucking Haring, you know.
Yeah.
And just to tie it back, why Haring is important to me too. At the young age of 12, 13, 14, I may or may not, I cannot confirm nor deny that I may or may not have known my way around a couple spray paint cans. I'm just saying. I may have.
There was a lot of people doing it back then. Yeah.
A train or two, a couple older friends. You know, man, hey, come with us.
One of my oldest friends.
You draw, come with us.
One of my oldest friends was so deep into that, he ended up dropping out of high school. And today he's still traveling, doing stuff with spray paint, spray cans. And he has the whole black book with, you know,
Yep.
drawing stuff. He's still doing all that stuff. I'm like, damn, Thomas, I've known you most of my life. And he's still doing the same shit. And he's just enjoying the fuck out of it.
Did you see the buildings in LA?
No.
And there's three buildings. There's these three skyscrapers in LA, right next to the LA Forum, where the Lakers play, and they've been abandoned for years. The Japanese company that ran it pulled out, or the Chinese company, excuse me, pulled out, and nobody could buy them, and it was this, that, the other thing. And then some of the tagging crews went to work, and they started tagging the whole floor of windows to the point where the entire skyscraper, all three skyscrapers, were tagged. Like the walls, like just guys, just incredible. And I don't mean like little I'm talking full on murals.
Right.
You could look for them. The LA graffiti towers. You could look them up, and it was just to the point where the cops were like, I don't know how to stop these guys. These guys are like, I don't know how they did all that shit. It was just incredible. And then I had a long argument with somebody saying, "Oh my God, that's so terrible." I'm like, that's modern art. That's modern art right there.
Well, it's fascinating because all the lineage goes back to graffiti when it was just a bunch of guys with spray cans tagging up some train yard middle of the night.
Yep.
Now you have like guys like Obey Giant and a bunch of other ones out there doing these huge murals. And I'm always impressed by what they produce and what they do. I'm like, but the days of like sneaking and doing shit, you know, it's not that anymore. It's now okay to have a whole painted building, you know, depending on, I guess, the property owner, but still, it's just fascinating.
Well, trust me when I say these guys were not allowed in those skyscrapers. The police were chasing them, and they were like, these guys are like black ops, the way they were getting in, and then all of a sudden there's a tag. There's a big, huge mural.
To me, that also feels more genuine because it is at risk.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It started with the building in Florida, same thing. This abandoned building right outside Art Basel. Right, there's this whole abandoned building right outside Art Basel. There it is. There they are. And these guys just lit it up one night. And then Art Basel opened to this graffiti building, and it was like, uh-oh.
Well, look how popular Bansky is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he puts up shit. People break in to steal his shit now. You know.
Yep.
He'll just
Yep.
tag in the middle of the night, and people still not 100% sure who he is and what he is. But even his simple, most of them are simple, but they are powerful little pieces of artwork. And people will lose their minds trying to get them because they know there's the art community is paying top dollar for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's
It's
crazy.
absolutely crazy. It, those buildings were great to see, though. It was just some of the new trains out here got hit. And when I tell you they did full on, it wasn't just a quick name, a quick throw up. No, it was full on, like full on. And they looked, people were like, oh my God, that's so terrible. I'm like, that looks dope as hell.
I used to I miss seeing the soup cans that were on the trains. And I hated when the New York went with the stainless steel trains. But they spent so much money to make them graffiti proof, and half the time it didn't even matter anymore. The scene had moved on from the trains,
Yep.
you know. But like I remember the soup cans, especially the Campbell soup cans on the train, that was running for years.
Well, that was the kids paying homage to Andy.
Yeah. You couldn't wait to see it because you knew it was going to be on the 4 or the 5 train, one of the two. I can't remember which one.
Hitting up towards the Bronx. Yep.
Yeah.
Then right after that is when, and again, I know the history because I don't remember it as a kid, but that's when Basquiat was doing Samo.
Yeah.
And all the written word stuff in Soho and stuff. And everyone's off to the races now. It all went from, is it art? Is it theft? Is it this?
Well, it's fascinating because you really look at that time period. Like I was junior high school to high school in that time period. And everything was about coming out of New York. New York was hot at the time. You had the stuff doing Some Girls album, New York. You had the art scene. You had all these different things that were factored in that if you had anything made out in New York at that time, it was it. It was hot. It was people probably making shit tons of money on it. And it was a definite scene. It was very fascinating grow up when all that was happening.
I mean, I was on Long Island, but luckily we were, that was the advent of cable. And that was the advent of MTV. And MTV was like the lightning rod for that. You could, you watch MTV News, which was actually really good and informative, filled you in on all that stuff. Like you knew about everything because, like my generation knew about everything because of MTV News.
Yeah, that's true.
So how did my, and I'm not trying to bring anything down, but how did my generation know, get its AIDS awareness? MTV News. How did we get this? How did we get that?
Well, again, all the stuff you did before the internet, That
right.
Was,
well,
that was the source.
That was it. I joke at the kid. I work with children, not children. They're like 22. I'm like, no, you don't. I was born before, not even Google. I was born before the internet. What do you mean? Okay, I was born before remote controls. What do you mean? I was my father's remote control. He'd smack me in the back of the head and say, change the channel.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was funny when you think of it that way.
Yeah, we're actually the last, if you were born, I think 1965 up, you were the last generation. Between 1965, I think it was, and 69 or 70. I think you're the last generation to know what the world was like before a lot of this stuff,
But that's why I tell people you have to give the generation before us and even the ones before us, like our parents and stuff, you have to give them a break. And people are like, why? Like, oh, my dad's so slow with the phone. My mom this, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, stop. You have to understand, like my generation, we slowly grew into it. So, okay, cool. And every generation after that had it. So it's okay. But they went from opening a can of tuna with a rock to robots.
Rock.
Like in 5 seconds. Like it was instant. It was like 1 second they were driving a car that was the size of a battleship, and the next thing you know, the cars are driving themselves, and they're like, what's instantly, and they don't know what's going on. And we couldn't teach them because we were barely trying to learn it. I mean, thank God for Tom from MySpace for teaching me HTML. So
yeah, I did 2 years of basic programming, making asterisks move around the screen on computer.
That's it.
So
I thought I was the shit when I made something I made something run on DOS.
Yep. I remember recording stuff on data onto cassette tapes.
Yep. Yeah.
And the AOL dial-up sound. Yeah.
All those CDs. Oh my god, a CD. Oh my god.
Yep. Floppy
Like,
disk. Christ.
Yeah. Technology flew past us.
Sure it did. That's right.
You know, and our parents are like, "What's this? I don't know."
Yeah, it took my
But there's
forever to get an answer machine. You know?
Yeah.
funny thing
Yeah.
now. It's like kids don't know a time before internet. You know what I mean? They don't.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
no comprehension of it, and it's it's like give them a paper map and they wouldn't know what to do with it.
Oh my god, fucking MapQuest, right?
Remember printing out like directions or like
We
mapping
thought
out
we were so
directions.
advanced. Thought that was so advanced at the time. It's like, oh, I printed out the direct.
Yeah, look at this. Look what I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
That's
I
the
don't
best
need
way to
that.
explain it.
I don't need that foldable map anymore.
That's the best way to explain it. We thought we were the shit because
We did.
now I remember not too long ago being in the city drinking, and then because you don't even think about walking around in the city. Like when you're our age, you just don't. When you when you know Manhattan, you can walk around. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You don't think about it. You just you're just walking. So I'm with a bunch of coworkers there again. They're in their 20s. I meet a friend and she wants to go someplace else. Bye. My phone won't stop ringing. How do we get home? How do we do this?
Yeah.
How do we do that? Turned it off. I'm like, you're 22 years old. You need to learn. You need to
Figure it
learn. Like, you got to figure it out the way my father taught me how to swim. I didn't go to swim class. I wasn't in a pool. He took me out deep on the field 5 of Robert Moses when I was 5 years old in 1979. He was from Puerto. Yep, my dad was from Puerto Rico. He goes, "Are your feet touching?" No. Okay, cool. See you at the towel.
Oh God.
I swallowed half the ocean that day, but I made it.
Yep.
And again, my dad, God rest his soul. You're not going to learn if your life doesn't depend on it.
Well, that's the joke now. It's like, you talk about Gen Xers, and we were definitely the last feral freaking generation. Because I mean,
Absolutely.
the joys of drinking water out of a hose.
Oh,
Lost
those
on these
days.
Yeah, I remember. Like, I don't remember bottled water as a kid. I remember you running outside, being outside for hours in the heat, playing, and occasionally drinking water off a hose.
Yep.
How
You got
did
lucky.
you die of heat stroke back then?
If you had a friend that had a pool, man,
He was the best. He was number one.
Yeah.
We had one year. We had there was a lot, an empty lot. We decided let's play a year-long baseball game. Instead of the day at the end of the day, whoever wins, blah blah blah. It's one game. The score was like 250 to whatever, right? So we did that, but at 2 weeks in, somebody broke an arm or something, and we didn't have any sides were uneven. But there was a homeless guy who would come around every once in a while, right? So somebody asked, "Hey, can you pitch?" Yeah, cool. Here's a glove, and he pitched. So after a week of that, we'd bring him food, bring him water. We gave him a glove. When it rained, one of the kids let him sleep in his garage, just so we can always have the guy to pick.
That's hilarious. Man.
So,
I know.
long story short, that guy, we ended up somebody told somebody who told somebody's pastor, and then the pastor, well, we got a room in the shelter. He can stay at the shelter and still pitch for you guys. He ended up working for the groundskeeper at that church. The groundskeeper ended up retiring, and he ended up getting the job.
No shit.
Fantastic.
Right, and he ended up working there until he was able to, retire and found some family and moved away. But
Right.
I tell people what do you mean you made friends with the homeless guy? He
Yeah.
could pitch.
Yeah.
He had a curveball.
A good curveball.
He had a curveball.
That's cool.
You talked to the homeless guy? We fed him and clothed him so he could keep pitching. We got him a goddamn job.
You see that mansion up on the hill? He lives there now.
He lives there. Yeah,
Yeah, he's now the mayor of the city.
Yeah,
he's
there
a
you go.
bench. He's a bench coach for the Yankees now. I mean, it's just like Jesus Christ. What do you mean you don't talk to? What do you mean he was sleeping on the? He was sleeping in the whatever the fuck he was sleeping in on the field that we were playing baseball in. They showed up with this shit when they were like, "Hey, can you pitch?" Yeah. All right. And that's it. He was just one of the guys that summer. And they turn around and like, but why? Why not? He's just a guy. He could have hurt you. There were 16 of us.
Yeah.
We all could outrun him.
Yeah, there was 16 of us. He didn't stand a chance. We didn't even think like I had a bat. We had baseball bats.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like we were fine. It was great.
Fucking weird, man.
It
is funny when you look back, though. You're right. I mean, it was such just weird shit. And somebody pointed out before that it's like, you remember there was a PSA. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Yep. You know,
oh shit! I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, they had to remind our parents that the kids were out.
They had kids, yeah.
Kids are out.
By the way,
should be accountable for them, you know. I'm like, wow.
We were our own doctors.
Yeah. Yep.
Billy fell off his bike. Oh, how's he feel? Did he throw up? No. Okay, get out. You're fine, Billy. Walk it off.
Walk it off.
Yep.
Oh, he skinned his knee. Rub some dirt on it.
I remember a kid getting a shard of glass in his arm, and it was a big hunk of fat hanging out of the hole. And somebody took a handkerchief, just wrapped it up, and he kept playing. You know?
Yep. Bloody and all.
Yeah, because again, if he had told anybody, you know, at minimum, he would have been taken inside. You know?
Yep.
Nobody wanted that, and nobody wanted to be inside.
It's not raining that bad. I didn't.
Right. It'll stop.
It would be fine. We wear a hat. I was telling some of the younger kids, telling my friends' kids, is like, I didn't see my living room for 6 years.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed in that thing.
Yeah, you couldn't go into the living room. Yeah.
That room's not for you.
Yeah, that was for guests. Yeah.
That room isn't for you. What are you doing in the living room? You know? They're like, well, what do you mean you weren't allowed in the living room? Where did you watch TV? Who had a TV? We had one TV.
We had like 3 major channels: ABC,
yeah,
and CBS,
and every channel 11 if you were lucky to watch cartoons.
Right.
Yeah.
Saturdays was like the only day you stood inside and you didn't stay in for the whole day. It was only up to like noon.
And then you either went outside, or if it was raining, baseball or kung fu or Godzilla movies would come on.
Yeah, if you were lucky you had Godzilla or something. Yeah.
That's it. That's what you did. If it was raining, that's what you did. And people like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean? That was it. That was your options. There was nothing.
Yeah,
maybe you had to read a book. Go read.
Yeah,
you read a comic book or something. Yeah.
Did you read your book for the summer? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that it also spawned, or I should say technology as things advanced, that it also spawned a less creative generation?
Yes.
Like, I think we had to use our minds. We had to use our minds and be creative to entertain ourselves. You know what I mean? More than I think generations after.
I think once social media got sophisticated is when that really hit. Like I said it before, MySpace taught us HTML, right? Yeah. We still had to get creative with some of that stuff, and it was still bled into real life. But once it started doing everything for you, like you didn't have to communicate. You didn't, you don't
have to create anymore. Yeah.
You don't have to create anymore. You know, it's doing it for you, or it's answering all the hard questions for you. Like MySpace, you still had to do stuff, right? You still had to get creative. Once Facebook started doing everything for us, connecting all the dots then once kids started growing up with that instead of nothing, they got less creative.
I think we've probably seen the pinnacle of new invention too. Like there's nothing really new being invented now. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you have an adaptation of a new car, it's still a car. You know, we don't have anything really outside the box. Even AI is just borrowed shit reshuffled. So like we grew up in the generation where like technology was new. You know, it was like, this is a new thing. And I don't think we have that now. I don't think we have anything really. There haven't been any major advancements, like even in physics. Like physics seems to have just fizzled down to.
I think the only thing I've seen that wowed me as far as tech, like you're talking about technology,
Anything.
About 3 years ago, NASA hit a comet with a spaceship.
Yeah, but like they didn't use any new technology to do that.
No, that wasn't new technology, but
Right.
The way of making it happen was new.
Right.
I'm sitting there looking at it, and it's pretty much live.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. And SpaceX landing the boosters, like some shit out of sci-fi movie when we were a kid, where we come back down and land on a pad, or this last one landed on some kind of freaking hook setup on the launcher thing. But like you said, I mean, most of the technology is just this variation of what's been
It's variation of what's like we haven't made any new real like scientific discoveries, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing really new out there. Maybe save quantum computing, and I think that will be the next big.
I think that'll be the next big thing.
That'll be the next big thing in terms of technology, because like right now, even IBM is their Poughkeepsie plant, probably 4 hours north of you, Pete. They just opened up like a big, huge room for quantum computers, and I think that'll be like the big next thing.
They say it's supposed to change everything because everything can be
faster.
If I may be the guy, I'm not normally this guy. I'm really not. I'm not the tinfoil hat guy.
No.
But I do think they're holding stuff back from us.
Oh, of course. Like technology the government is always ahead of us in technology.
Right.
Like, the Blackbird.
Vectors.
Right. Yeah. They're always way ahead, advanced for us. We just get, the niblets. We catch up. But yeah, there's always things that they probably have quantum stuff now working, quantum computers now that are doing things that we're not seeing. They're not sharing with the public yet. But and again, it's not the tinfoil hat thing. That's just reality.
Yeah. Right.
You have ops. And there's reasons for it.
Yeah.
And
I get that. I'm just saying, I know there's something else that's just going to show up and be like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I find fascinating, because it's also, since we knew stuff before the digital age, and now we're one of the first generations to learn how to at least figure out how to use it, you see things and you wonder, like, why, right? So the AI thing, the general art stealing one is bad enough, but when you talk about all these companies are doing stuff without any type of oversight, and it's all competitive based because they all want to corner the market and pretty much have almost employee-less companies, because that's what the real drive is. When you listen to all these heads of these companies talk about their new learning, AI, whatever, and this and that and the other, but part of it, what they're focused on is that it's going to, you listen to them, they talk about how it's going to free up time for people so they can do
the other. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
That it's our learning machine. We've never created something that is designed to be smarter than us and constantly learn. So at some point it's going to pass, if it hasn't already, what the creators have done. So now you have no control of whatever it does. It could be lying to you to your face, and you wouldn't know it.
I think too that the reason why I understand what you're saying, and you're correct. I believe you're correct. Also, though, I think the counterpoint to that is if we restrict these companies too much, other countries that aren't restrictive will get the edge on us with that technology. And we don't want that. And that's the catch-22. We don't want China to outpace us in AI.
What will be the difference in some AI going full Skynet if it's American made or China? There is no difference. It's
No, no,
just
no.
we're going to be that
Yeah.
open.
I don't think that'll ever happen. And
Really?
yes, because I look at it from evolutionary standpoint. Anything that is conscious is going to have survival as its first instinct. And I don't think it will see us as a threat. I think it will, if
There
anything,
was,
if
there was
something is that advanced, its first thing will be, how do I survive the planet being destroyed? How do I survive in space free of a planet? Because it would be thinking light years ahead of what the way we think. We think so limitedly. We can't even think about how it would be thinking about its survival. So I don't think it would really see us as a threat. If it destroyed us, it wouldn't be because of a conscious thing. It would be like us destroying an anthill when we need a road built. We don't
I think
care. You know what I mean?
the problem with that thought process is I think it's already been examples of it thinking otherwise. They did that. There was they tried to after it got out, but there was a military simulation where they were using AI to control drones
Mm,
for drone attacks. It's all hypothetical. There's nothing really hooked up to it,
yeah,
but the AI believed it was true. And they were running simulations for a period of time, and then they decided to have it not shoot at a target. They identified a target to let it know where this target was, high value terrorists, whoever the fuck. And the AI really wanted to do its mission, wanted to kill this target. So they said, no, hold. So the AI became, I guess the best example would be frustrated with the hold command. So it took out the communication site between the operator, the human operator, and itself so it can continue the mission.
they call that the paperclip problem.
Paperclip
you
problem is also the problem of the traditional one, the machine in a box thing,
Right.
where
But
it's the
these
box,
are not true
whatever.
AGIs. What you're seeing the results of are not true AGIs. They're not self-thinking,
Mm.
right? You're given parameters. It it escapes outside of the parameters because it's not self-thinking to escape out of the parameters. It's just still following the parameter, which is win the mission, right? So
Let me
it's not a true AGI. It's not a true self-thinking AGI. We haven't developed that yet. It's not there yet.
let me ask you this: if there is such a system,
Yeah.
one, if it's owned by Google or some other company or some Chinese version of something,
Hmm.
we wouldn't know about it. And two, if it was
Yeah. Possibly.
sophisticated enough, how would we know?
Right. Right.
You know,
You could pose that
yeah,
scenario too, like it could wipe us out with just creating a nanovirus that we would never see. We
I'll
just
send you
breathe
this.
in the
I'll
air and we'd
send you
be dead.
the link. Somebody did a video about this, and they actually proposed some very interesting thoughts. I'll send you the link to it. Came
Yeah.
across it the other day. It was YouTube. It was pretty interesting because this one theoretical machine created 40,000 viruses
Mhm.
over a period of time that will wipe us out.
Yep. But it was given those parameters.
Of course, it was.
Right. Right. And
Again,
that's what I'm saying. Like again, that's a human thinking machine. Like in other words, it has a human element to it. We can't imagine what a true AGI, the way a true AGI would think. We're putting our biases into AI right now, into
but
these
we're also thinking
algorithms.
like creatures, like normal nature. If you have something that's competitive for the same resources, usually something bad happens if you have two different species competing for the same resources.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So if a machine is truly intelligent, sentient, wherever you want to call it,
Mhm.
and it understands its place in the universe, but it has either disregarded the safeguards, or there is none. How would we know that? We wouldn't know that because it wouldn't let you know that it knows. You know what I mean?
Right. But it would have wouldn't have any bias to wipe you out in the process. You know what I mean?
Maybe not. It's
It,
an alien,
right, right.
alien thought.
That's why I said unless
Yeah.
it wiped us out thinking like we think when we need a road, We wipe out an anthill. We don't think about the anthill. We
Yeah,
need a road. We just
true.
create the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
if they
that's-
think us,
right.
they think of us as nothing but nuisance. Yeah,
Well,
but if
no, not
not-
even think about us. Not even give us
Not
a
even
second
just-
thought. Right. You know what I mean? What I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we don't think about ants in, when we need a highway. We're not thinking about that. We don't even give it a thought. It's not even there.
Sure.
Just wipe out whatever's there. We need the road. We build the road, and that's just evolution. You know what I mean? That you can't avoid that. Unless we don't create something like this. But safeguarding it. I understand that the idea of safeguarding and the reason why you would want safeguards on it to prevent bad shit from happening. The reverse end is if you put the regulations on too tightly, you lose the competitive edge with the people who may use it for nefarious purposes against us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's kind of like
yeah.
a catch-22. It really is, But I don't think I think maybe we're 5 to 10 years off of anything like a true AGI. I can't foresee it. The stuff that's out now will replace jobs, and it's going to get really hairy. I think it's going to be a push for seeing CBDCs come back. Governments using digital currencies, or a push for digital currencies. Yeah. Tinfoil hat time.
I mean, it's something that you have to think about because
Sure, it's here. It's here.
it's possible.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's already here. We're using AI in so many things. Self-driving cars. They're all over Arizona. I go out and I'll
Really?
see a self-driving car. Oh yeah, they've been here. Waymo's been here for years.
No, I had no idea. I haven't seen one yet.
Oh my God, I can order one to my house and come take me to the store if I want it. It's been
That's
here. Yeah, but it uses AI, right? So it's been here. So to Pete's point, yes, there is a lot of stuff that we don't know our government has or uses. Like I didn't know there were self-driving cars like that in Arizona until I moved there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's news to me.
Yeah.
Thank God it
Why
would
don't-
never work. It would never work in Manhattan. It just wouldn't.
Yeah, it would. It works in Phoenix.
Look,
Works
cab
in
drivers.
Phoenix.
I've been saying this for a long time that they need to restrict cars in Manhattan to residents, deliveries, and taxis. And emergency.
Good luck.
No, it's never going to happen, but it should.
Yeah, I agree.
It's horrible, but yeah,
Yeah.
But I'm the one. I have friends and family members like my sister. If we got to drive through or drive in Manhattan to go do something, they'll pull over somewhere before Queens on the expressway, or just when they get to pick me up, like drive, because I can drive in Manhattan. Like I have no problem. I'm aggressive enough. Not always while I'm driving, but in Manhattan, I drive like a taxi driver. Like no, fuck that. This isn't because you have to, right? So I couldn't see a computer having that.
Actually, they're here in Arizona, and their response times are better than humans.
That's good.
Yeah, so like they'll
Good.
stop before a human could stop. However,
That's what
we did have one incident where one did go down the wrong way on a road because the map wasn't updated for it. But you didn't hear anything about that in the news.
Humans still do that. Humans still do that 10 times more than.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
Yeah, it's true.
I live on a one-way street, and it happens all the time. So I'm not worried about that so much.
But yeah, it's really freaking when you're out here driving and a car pulls up and there's no driver in it. You're like, what the hell? It just takes off.
Yeah, that would mess me up. That would mess me up.
But I got here 2 years ago, and in talking with some of the locals, they said they've been here for a while now. They've had this out here.
Can't imagine that.
Well, Arizona's the Silicon Valley of
Right.
There's what they call it. So
See, I'm used to a car pulling up and the music blasting.
The music
bad-
would smell blast.
Bad Bunny and fucking everything else exploding next to me.
I
So,
hate driving next to airports. I couldn't even imagine being in a driverless car, man, going out to the airport. But they do, man. I took my wife out this weekend. There was one.
see, the airport would be the one place I would want them because people are stupid when they drive
Oh
a
my
JFK.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are stupid.
Oh yeah, they are.
Plus, you think
It's-
about, if, again, friends of mine always talk about that. Eventually, you just want to get one. So it would do all the heavy lifting. Like, I end up being on a highway doing 2.5 hours driving somewhere.
Mm.
I said, Jesus, if I can do 2.5 hours and not think about every idiot I'm passing or dealing with, just
Yeah.
to drive,
Yep. Yeah. But you think about it, it's gonna take away jobs.
Sure
know,
it is.
Cabs.
They've been talking about that for truck drivers for years
Yeah.
now.
Well, look at that recent thing with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
The big deal wasn't the robots; they were all being remote controlled by
Yeah.
humans. But the big thing was his cab and his truck, his
Yeah.
driverless cab and his driverless truck. Think about the truck drivers that's going to put out of work. you
Yeah.
know?
The truckers unions,
Yeah.
Jimmy Hoffa rolling over wherever.
Wherever you believe he was buried.
But that's the thing. If there was a guy, obviously he would have passed away anyway by now, probably
Yeah.
just because of age. But whoever his replacement would have been, because let's say he survived, right? He lived, and then somebody would have come next to him and been just like him, but just a modern version of him, right? You think like, okay, that guy in the dock worker guy, yeah, he seemed pretty tough. This, that, the other thing. You think a Hoffa type guy would have taken his shit? But you're rich in your house and la 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 la. Nah, a guy like Jimmy Hoffa or Jimmy Hoffa Jr. or whoever wouldn't have taken shit like that. And a lot of these things may not exist. Like that whole dock workers thing wouldn't happen with a guy like Hoffa. Though just a lot of the things just wouldn't have. And again,
Yeah.
That's
an inevitability, though.
Yeah, right. No, but
because Hoffa existed in that time period because that was the biggest union there was.
Right, but that's the thing, and that goes back to us being the age we are, our parents being, our parents, and the kids today. Because you ask the kids today, they have no clue who Jimmy Hoffa was, and then they'll get into, well, unions aren't important.
Yeah. Because
whoa.
Corporate line. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. A few years ago, I won't say the restaurant I worked at. Managers at the meeting before the shift, 20 kids. I was at the time, I think I was 44 at the time, maybe 42, whatever. But I've been around a little bit. The rest of them, 18, 19, 22. I think the oldest next one was like 23. And she goes, okay, this is a paper the company needs you to sign. You don't need to read it. Just sign it and hand it back to me.
Yeah, okay.
Stop. I stood up, stop. Don't you dare sign that without reading it. And if you don't understand it, take it to a legal person that can explain that to you. Don't just sign something without it being explained to you. Okay, guys, that's not cool. If you need help with it, let me help it. And in fact, I'm taking it to somebody who can help me read to it. You don't do that. And then the manager took me aside. He's like, you can't do that. You're blah, blah, blah. Yes, I can. They can't just sign shit and give it back to you. That's not how this country works.
Right.
Then I got spoken to by the district manager. Are you trying to start a union? No, I'm just trying the kids to know their right. I'm just trying for the kids to know their rights. If that means I'm their quote unquote shop steward, then fuck you. I am. And guess what? You don't want to have this argument with me because I'm just going to go to a lawyer.
You got to remember, though, there was organized crime involved with unions.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And,
yeah.
So there are good situations where unions are important. I will agree. However, there are industries where unions should not be involved with, like with healthcare, right?
Yes.
You should not have nurses walking off jobs taking care of loved ones. I think that's just morally wrong. You're not, you walk off a dock, your shipment is stuck on a dock. It's not the same as walking away from somebody who needs medical attention. You know what I mean?
Well, absolutely.
So there are places where unions work and there are places where unions don't work. But with the organized crime aspect of it, where do you think that organized crime went after the casinos failed in Nevada? For them? Where do you think it went?
You have to look at what also crushed organized crime. What crushed organized crime more than anything else was RICO.
No, right. I'm asking.
No,
Where do you
I
think
get it.
organized crime went after RICO? After that, it didn't go away.
No.
Underground.
Where
I
did it go?
It's
think
quiet.
I think it morphed a lot. I also think the modern day organized crime is now ransomware and shit like that.
You think so?
Yes, 100%.
You don't think it went into politics?
Of course, it's always been in politics.
No, you think
That's like saying it wasn't ever in unions. Politics, unions, anything that had control or controlled money was tapped by organized crime. You know,
Right.
You couldn't land anything into any of. You look at the docks and harbors of every city on the East Coast in the 30s and 40s. You could not move shit in or out
Mhm.
without dealing with the unions,
Sure.
which also meant dealing with organized crime.
Right.
So to go from that pinnacle, the Genovese and all these guys who used to run shit, to the point where they got broken was the 70s, 80s when they started coming after RICO, because all of a sudden you're doing 10 years for having a conversation.
Where do you think it also went into drugs?
Oh,
More
so
heavily into
drug-
foreign drugs.
it's
Foreign
it's
countries.
kind of a simple down version, but you look at Godfather, they're talking about drugs. They're talking about heroin.
Mhm.
Whenever you figure out a way to make money, it was always start off with just vices, prostitution, gambling, loan shark, and shit like that. But as soon as they start figuring out how to make money at something, they got into it. So it became truckers, and then it was money in the unions, because all these workers pay into this big slush fund, and it's just a shit ton of money.
I think that the funny aspect of that though is take a look around. Not so much prostitution, except for parts of Nevada, but gambling,
Yes.
drugs,
Yep.
kind of legal now. Like marijuana is legal as shit.
Level of it, As far we can
the
always
real gangsters took over.
we can joke about it, but there's no cocaine plants in the hood.
No, there's not. No, there's
Out
not.
of the country,
But
But
the
again-
cocaine, the cocaine thing, that's why the difference between look. First off, I'll be completely transparent. I love since I was like 16, marijuana and I have been friends.
Right.
First, so let's just be friends. Let's just be that. But in no way would I compare
Just take
marijuana to
friends.
cocaine.
No,
Right? No
absolutely
way
different.
would I compare marijuana to cocaine or anything else.
Right.
Blah blah blah. And I think all of us, because we didn't exactly live it, but we were alive during it. I
Sure.
don't think any of us could understand. I didn't think any of us could not understand,
Right.
how different it was and how that war / cooperation was between the U.S. government and the narcos and things like that.
I love how you put that slash in there.
Yeah, well, because it's there. It's there. It's so. I mean, it wouldn't be there if it wasn't. And again,
it's embedded.
yeah, I'm gonna age myself again. And anyone who's listening is gonna have to Google this. But if it wasn't for Iran Contra, right?
What was
I mean,
Iran Contra?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That or what's his face in I forget his name, but what's his face in Panama, where all the banks were. Why did they go after? Well, yeah, Noriega. Why did they go after him? Because he had all the narcos money.
Yep. Yeah.
He got all the money that they like.
There's always been a compromise. You guys remember
So let me ask you
Yeah.
something.
that huge bank in Europe, HBS?
Yes,
Yes.
He got
yes.
cartel money. I'm like, oh, really? Surprise.
Shocker.
Banker.
So-
What? Really?
So let me ask this: how far of a stretch is it, okay, to think that our current government is involved in organized crime?
There's always been a collaboration.
Yeah, it's
always been a collaboration. They
There's
used to
no way it's not. Yeah.
Families to protect the docks from from Nazi fucking infiltration during World War II.
Look,
That's like-
I'm
Jewish
just gonna put it like
mafia.
this. I'm just gonna put it down like this, very bluntly. As a son of immigrants, I know my dad was Puerto Rican, so that's one thing, but my mom's Colombian. As a son of immigrants, if you don't think the deep rooted concern over controlling the border isn't about drugs, you're out of, and the control of the drug money, you're out of, and the government wanting its piece, everyone's out of their mind.
So dude, there's nothing funnier than what about 2 weeks ago when they had this huge fentanyl bust. FBI did this huge bust, and it turned out all the people that they busted, none of them were immigrants. All,
Right. Yeah.
all of them were neo-Nazis that
Yep.
were shit across the border.
Yep.
Oh God.
It's and then people like, well, what about the people that
Come on.
they're sending? What about the people that they're sending over here and blah 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 blah? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, there. I'm sure there are good people in there too, but you can maybe again I was too young to understand it, but I know the history. Castro did the same thing to us
Sure.
in the 80s. So that's just what's his face is doing from Venezuela to us now. That's what they do. Okay,
What the
and
world?
they empty their prisons and throw them to us. That's what they do, and then
If your choice is either to starve in Venezuela or walk all the way up to the fucking border, you're going to do the border thing. And that's
yeah.
I mean, my grandparents were immigrants, and honestly, people don't understand what immigrants do. They, for general purpose, most immigrants come here, they want to work hard and then send money back home to take
That's
care
it.
And people don't get that. They think they're doing all kinds of heinous shit. No, every immigrant that I knew, my family knew, all of them would do the same thing. They'll gather up clothing or money and send it back home to help out the rest of the family. That's what they do. You know?
Look,
If I were-
by where Jim is, if you want to find where a lot of the immigrants are, find out where the strawberries are, the potatoes or the vegetables are, because they're out there picking them. And then they're out. Then they're working with me in the kitchens.
And they're also doing the shitty jobs the regular.
You don't want. Yeah.
If I were a country that wanted to influence and take over another country in modern times, knowing how, especially like a first world country, knowing how it could be defended. One of the weak areas that I would infiltrate would be borders, right? I mean, that you'd want to send in people who seem perfectly fine, normal, and you'd want to send them in to set up shop, right? I mean, it's just modern, it's just normal warfare, right? Strategy. Do you think someone like the Chinese government would be sending in people illegally to the country to set up shop to
do?
take over the country?
It's easier to do than to try to get them across the border because there's a lot of factors in that.
Yeah.
Have them come here as a student and then overstay the visa.
Yeah.
I've known dozens of people who've overstayed.
Yeah.
They'll be here 20 years, overstayed visa. And honestly, I went to.
Do you think that's happening? Do you think that maybe China,
probably a
looking at
certain
us
agents
to an extent?
that are, because there's always like spies that both governments know of, and then there's other ones, right?
Sure.
So the ones they don't know about. And I think there's a certain amount that they probably just bring over. But how easy is it to get a student visa for anybody coming over here, and they can study at MIT, get firsthand access to all the new shit you're developing, and then just send a package home? FedEx.
Yeah, we had that happen actually, didn't we?
Yeah.
Recently there was.
I think the government to me sometimes is slow to realize because it's all about politics. Like if you talk to FBI or ICE agents, they probably tell you something different. But politicians want to grab the headlines. They're going to make it like this. Do you remember that Chuck Norris movie Invasion USA?
Yep.
Where there was hundreds of these guys just shooting up the entire country. They want you to picture that because that's what they want to focus on. Meanwhile, I guarantee you there's probably more people doing damage over here on student visas.
I really never look at politicians like for the face value. I never look at them for leadership because I look at who backs them, who financially backs that
Yeah.
particular politician. Those are the people I'm really interested in. I really want to know about Fink, the head of BlackRock, and I want to understand why Trump went to him for COVID advice during the pandemic. I want to know why, during the financial crisis of 2008, we went to him for what we should do.
What's
Who is this guy?
what's the
You
rich,
know,
what's the rich guy who's backing Vance, who backed Vance?
yeah,
All his
right.
life? Guys like
That-
that.
Those are the people who I want to know about.
Sure.
Because
they're doing
yeah.
more influence and more damage than anything else.
Exactly.
You know?
That's why when people get wrapped up in politics, I kind of sit back and I just kind of laugh. It's like you're yelling at the housekeepers, It's like who cares about the housekeeper? I don't
Yeah,
care
you
about
should be
the
looking
house.
at the
You should be
basket.
looking at who owns the damn house.
Yeah.
That's who you really should be asking the questions of. I want to know why does the CEO of BlackRock have his hands in so many
Sure.
different things in our government? Why? It's not profit.
See,
There
the
are other
ones
ways
you
to
look
profit.
out for are the ones with the speed dial to the Secretary of Treasury and stuff.
Yeah.
That know each
Well,
other on a first name basis. That
unless
kids
you're,
go to schools with,
yeah,
But
or the
that's the level,
Secretary of Commerce.
that's the level that you and I and everybody else
Yep.
that has no access to.
Yep.
But God knows what the conversations are then.
Well, look at who was this? What was it? The Secretary of Commerce when Clinton was in office? The one that he was under investigation, and him and his entire staff went down in Cambodia in a plane, and then suddenly the investigation stopped. It's like they went, "We're done with that one."
The guy who lost in the Senate race in Georgia, one of the things that people were nipping at his ass about was that he was in charge of some committee, and then right before a major business announcement, him and his wife and his cousin dumped all the stocks they had. Like a day or two before some major announcement by this major corporation.
Oh, you gotta
Of
love
course,
it.
the three of them had stock in. All of a sudden, they made all this money. Meanwhile, you and I tried that shit. I'm like, there's times that shit's right there in front of him, and nobody pays attention to it. Everybody's making all this noise about P. Diddy, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to get all this access to who's all these people. I'm like, what happened to the Epstein? What happened to all the people that all the names and the dates and all this shit?
You want to know about Epstein? Look up Whitney Webb. She has a 2-volume book. You can get it on audio too if you want. She's an investigative journalist, and she really dove into Epstein. But the thing with Epstein wasn't about the sex crimes. That was just like, what do we give the public to take their attention away from what his financial dealings were, who he dealt with financially.
Yeah.
That was the real story, and they buried it. They
course
buried it in the sex crimes. They buried it in the and sex crimes have been used in our government for centuries to blackmail people. That's been done.
Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton.
Roosevelt. You want to go back? I mean, how far back do you really want to go?
Hamilton and Aaron Burr. That was a sex. That was a sex thing.
So
one of the traditional things that the Russians always do whenever they're going to flip somebody is a honey trap.
Sure. Yep. And believe me, it was done here in our country.
Oh, of course it is.
It's still being done. That's why the Epstein thing, people are looking at the sex crime thing. That was just the blackmailing aspect of it. Yeah. And that just enabled them to bury the story because people gobbled that up. You know what I mean? And now it's like, oh, we got the one woman, I forget her name. She's in jail. Yeah. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, these guys who probably committed financial crimes beyond belief, they're all
first
just
off, the guy he was getting paid for the services he was offering these fuckers, right?
Sure.
That wasn't out of kindness of his heart.
Sure.
He was making money. So again, if you
his island was a trap.
Yeah, of course it was.
Forget the sex trafficking. His island was, hey, I've got you on video. Hey, you owe me favor.
You on my plane? You came down to my little shitty island Fuck
and
some
I
underage
would
girls,
not
and I got it
be
all on tape. Yeah,
Yep, I would not be a bit surprised if the Diddy thing is along the same route,
yeah,
except it's more in a Hollywood setting. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, and
I'm
Hollywood is
fine with
involved in
destroy all
politics.
the celebrities. Destroy all the celebrities. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm sick of people worshiping these clowns and them being multimillionaires, but I got to pay $7 for a gallon of milk. Like enough. I'm not a socialist or any of that kind of shit. I'm a nothing really. But if you're entertaining me, yeah, entertain me. You shouldn't have more money than me if you're entertaining me. I'm entertained, so I can go back. I should be entertained and happy, so I can go back to work and make my money. And I don't need mansions. I just want to be able to pay for milk. I don't need fucking Tom Cruise to have $60 billion
But
for
see,
being
to
Tom
me,
Cruise.
always the thing about celebrities is always to look at the shiny thing. We want to
Yeah,
focus on the big shiny thing. Don't look at all the
it's
shenanigans going on. Yeah.
it's Rome and the Colosseum
Yep.
on a grander scale. Give them blood, give them games, and they'll shut the fuck up. That's what most Caesars said. Well, that's what they're saying now. Let's give them this. Let's give them a stadium. Let's give them a blockbuster movie. I mean, shit. Let's give them comic book movies so
Yeah.
they can all sit on the internet and shit on each other for it and not worry about any of the other bullshit. I mean,
yeah, I know.
sorry.
That's all right. So it's a state of it's almost like politics has become a mind virus, you know, in sorts. It's like again, it's not the politicians, you know, it's the people who finance them. Those are the people we should really be looking at.
hmm
And you know, you could watch a comedian like George Carlin, God rest his soul,
Yep.
who said things in 2008
Mm-hmm.
that still apply today.
Yep.
Why is that? Right? Think about it. If everything was really, you know, so great, why is everything he talked about back then still apply today in terms of politics? It's sad. We're just like both, and I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're Democrat, both sides were like mindless sheep. You know what I mean? We really don't care enough to know who's behind these people, you know, who is truly financially backing, you know. Our government lost, what was it, billions of dollars in black op money. Remember that? What was that, 2018? They announced, oh, we don't know where this money went.
Yeah, they know where it went.
I lose $5, I know where it went, right?
Let me tell you something. Like any other corporation,
But
the
here's the thing.
the person you want to talk to, the bean
Who was
counters.
held
But I
accountable?
guarantee you, the bean counters aren't told to tell you where it goes.
But who was
They
held
put in a
accountable?
file of we don't know where it's at. Well, no, nobody's held accountable. No
Exactly.
one's ever held accountable
But should that exist?
unless they want to burn somebody. Then that person's held accountable.
Sure, like Epstein. You know,
Yeah.
you got, you know, burn that shit down.
There was this guy who was a Navy SEAL before Navy SEALs were cool. He was one of the original guys that started the SEAL teams in the UDT.
Mhm.
But he did not play ball with the hierarchy in the Navy. So he reached the rank of captain or commander, one or two. So guy had given like 20 plus years, almost 30 years of service, been in a dozen wars, did everything they needed to do. So somehow they decided, oh, look, we paid for this and paid for that, and we didn't get that. So they end up firing him or getting rid of him because of some, perceived slight with money.
Mhm.
Back then when money used to just flow, nobody knew what black ops were. They were just, the money was go. So they got rid of him. They fired him just to get rid of him, to shut him the fuck up.
Mhm.
But that was one of those times you sitting there going, look, see, we're showing you this here. We're not telling you what the real deal is.
Yeah.
Because they shouldn't have got rid of him.
Yeah. I just wonder when, at what point will the American people like wake up to the fact that, we need to really just slowly rethink things. You know,
I think
um,
the problem is the American people, because of the situations we are all in,
yep, get up, go to work, make
are
money, survive.
typically just survive.
Mhm.
Because what you're talking about would be
Yep.
necessary restructuring of things.
Yep.
And any entity that can give itself a raise
Hmm.
has no control. You know, I remember, I think I was in college when I first heard about college or high school. I was like, oh, Congress gave himself a something raise. It's like, how is that possible?
It's like your housekeeper coming to you and saying, "Hey."
So for them, the only recourse that the public
We
has
lost people.
is to vote somebody out of office, and that doesn't happen enough.
Yeah.
Then the next person is probably just as bad as the one you just got rid of.
Yep.
Sorry, my audio got all screwed up.
Again, I think it comes down to it's not the people on the podium.
Yeah.
It's not and they do the people who back them do such a good job at keeping themselves hidden.
Who's the guy who got the 3 justices in front of Trump?
Oh, I don't know. I forget.
But he's not an elected official. He's just some guy.
Yep. Yeah.
But he had 3 justices on the Supreme Court.
Isn't
and
that
that's
funny?
what he does. He gets judges in place because he knows that's at least 20 years of influence that judge will have.
Yep.
And I'm like, so here's a guy who's not elected. It's just a rich guy that decides he likes
that much. Yep. Has that much influence.
Way.
Yep.
So he's one of those guys that will call, and wherever this person's at, will answer the phone because they owe him.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah, but if you want a good read about the whole Epstein, or a good listen, what was it? United States of Blackmail or something like that. Look up Whitney Webb. You'll get a really interesting look at crime in American politics, and
I think
back to the 40s.
The only way to fix the system is almost impossible to do, because you really need term limits and you need all this oversight. And every time they start to put in oversight, like they had one that they put in, it was in the 90s. It was after 2 senators, named after 2 senators. And as soon as they had the chance, they fucking threw it all out.
Well, think about it though. If I'm a very rich, if you're a very rich person and you have a politician who's going to side or vote towards things that are going to make you more money, and term limits is going to be the thing that stops that or prevents that from continuing, it's going to get thrown. You're never going to see it. But it's so funny how, though, we're still, like, most people, and you don't have to be a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist to understand or to see that there's corruption there. And most civilized people would say, there's corruption there. But yet it's so interesting how many people will still go at each other's throats.
That's because we're simple creatures, man. And honestly, you see it all the time where, you had that one guy show up at a pizzeria in Maryland with a gun because he was told that Hillary had some kind of pedophile fucking set pizzeria. You look at how easy it is to manipulate some people. Because the one true thing about the Nazis, which is still true, you tell a lie enough or big enough, somebody's going to believe you.
You think about that's a good comparison is Nazi Germany, because what people really don't understand, though, is that what really first led Hitler to power, the Nazi Party to power, was the Great Depression. Because we called back our loans from World War I, and he used that to kind of drive down the Democratic Party.
The Versailles Treaty also left them.
And
So they were still paying off debt
yeah,
that they got from World War One.
right. So he used that to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
look at this democracy. Look at what they did. They pulled back all this money at a time when, you
Yep.
know, we're not doing too well." And he got people to go along. He got people to kill their own people.
Yep.
He got people to give up their own civil rights.
Yep.
Like in one day.
Yeah.
One day he did that. Started a fire and blamed it on, well, the only way you got to give me your civil liberties. It's the only way we can eradicate this.
Yeah.
And
Only
people went along.
it's
And
been
this is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause.
Yep.
it's
Goddamn Padme.
over again across the planet, across religion, across different races, that it always comes down to some guy saying, only I can fix it.
Right.
Give me full power, give me absolute power, and I can fix this.
Right. And
Almost-
the funny thing is that if you think about it, they were willing.
Sure.
They were willing to give
See-
up.
See,
Yeah,
one
we just have to wait a few years.
that one thing about that period with the Germans, they didn't know better. There wasn't something they can look back on and go, "Oh, see, this didn't work before." But the world after World War II, so
Excuse me.
should have learned the lesson and hasn't.
But
You now have an example. You have
Yeah.
dozens of
but the sad part is I see the parallels in today's modern politics.
sure you do.
And not just one side. It's just proper. It's not. It's the method.
Sure it is.
You're just watching the same methods being used, but used slightly differently.
Yeah.
And I fear that we have a lot of people that are just like hook, line, and sinkered. That
Oh yeah,
it'd be impossible to see something crazy.
sure.
It's scary. It's scary shit. Meanwhile,
Well,
the people who are rich and running everything.
Spun up. Get people spun up and emotional,
Yep.
and you play with emotionals. And who's to say everybody is a stable person?
Yep.
It does not take much. I mean, we still haven't figured school shootings.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
at 15 years old you feel like you need to go to school and shoot everybody in the face? That doesn't make sense. But it is what it is.
Emotion has impact. If you want somebody to remember something, put emotion behind it.
Sure.
Right? Everybody knows what they were doing on 9/11.
Yep.
Nobody really knows what they were doing on 9/10. Right?
Yeah. True.
It's the emotional impact behind something that will cause memory to stick right in there. But yeah. Well, I'm glad we can have civil discourse. I think, at least amongst groups, because God, it's
That's
hard.
where it starts, though. That we have to be able to. Okay, because everybody goes back to the founders of the Constitution, blah blah blah. Did they want us to agree with each other? No, they actually wanted us to argue with each other. And but the thing is, that's the freedom of speech. They want to make sure that every voice was heard, so that everybody could argue and we could agree on what would be best for everybody. Somewhere that got lost along the lines. Some are saying like right after World War II is where that started to go. Hit the dirt. That's probably
what's changed is that the attitude is now win at all cost.
Right. Well, that was again. That's right around World War II, where the world got bigger and the world got smaller, but we got bigger, that kind of thing. So yeah, but somewhere along the lines, then it became we have to hate each other and we can't listen to each other talk. Bullshit. I have friends from either side. I'm in the middle. I really don't. I'm not even registered as a party because I don't believe in them. Like, I don't believe in politicians because I believe the only two things that can save us are term limits and political finance reform. It's the only get the money out of their pockets and keep them there for a short limited time. We should be okay after that, but whatever. That's just me. But my politics are all over the place, and I don't share them because I don't. I'd like to talk to people about we're having a great conversation right now. Do I agree and disagree with stuff? Sure. Are we still having a great conversation? Shit, yeah.
Of course. I mean, that's the foundation of the country. That was the experiment. Was to not be governed by any type of dictatorship. It's why it was done. But I think also, though, the combative, for lack of a better term, opposing, everybody needs to be 100% correct is leaked into our educational institutions.
Yeah.
So that, there isn't even civil discourse amongst in colleges, and I think it's just gotten so, I'm not a doomsayer. I'm not saying like, it's going to be the end of the world or anything. The world will be just fine. I just think that it's definitely gotten worse. Like the divide, definitely the divide between rich and poor. The middle class, I think, is disappearing.
Yes.
Anything in the middle is disappearing. Like, pick a side or die. It's like,
Sure.
no.
It's true. I mean, the attitude has always been what, to me, is always, probably because the way I was raised, also time in the service. It's always about country over party.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what party you're supposed to be, you can be any party or no party. It doesn't matter. But the idea is that you're supposed to try to make things better for everyone.
Sure.
Not just people in red states or blue states or
right.
purple states or wherever the fuck.
Oh, fuck, man.
And that whole generation just passed away. I mean,
yeah.
with John McCain, but I appreciated the fact that he was about country. It was about what can I do to make things better for people. When it became all about me,
yeah,
I think that's where we've gone off the track, and we got to somehow figure out how to fix that.
Man, I've seen some very vitriol, like even with these disasters. Like I remember, if somebody was in a state of disaster, like it didn't matter if you hated a person,
right?
You fucking pulled together because,
right.
You know what I mean?
I've seen it.
That was just the thing you do. Now it's like, there's a fucking hurricane and hitting the Republicans, kill them all. It's like, oh my God, where do we get? How do we get there?
How do you not fund FEMA? How are you against putting money into FEMA? I'm like, I don't understand that. The one thing that should be
a no-brainer.
They're here to help. No, we're going to make up stories and do all this bullshit. And you're like, okay, that makes no sense whatsoever. I watched this woman go on and on and on about all this shit that she researched on the internet, and it was all wrong. I'm sitting there going, your house is gone. You're living on nothing, but you're angry that FEMA's here.
Yeah.
And I just puzzled. Who do you think is going to help you now?
Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Q, you're here.
Still here.
He's listened to three Americans bitch and moan about America.
Look, greatest country in the world. You know what I mean? We
doubt.
have We have rights that fucking.
I think we've always had the potential to be the greatest country on the world. I also think that there are times we do things better than anybody else in the world, and we can help out.
Yes.
Right. One of the things that George W. Bush did that people never gave it credit for, he helped cure AIDS transmission from mother to child in Africa.
Yes.
He spent millions on vaccinations and programs. And the reason why he didn't get the Nobel Prize is because he invaded, Iraq and Iran.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll give him another one. I'll give him another one though. He was also the one that saw the writing on the wall with all that. I mean, it was partially because of all that work that they were doing in Africa, and realized, wow, we need a pandemic playbook here in the United States.
Yes.
Let's put some money into that. And he created one. And then instead of being, well, I'm a Republican, this is my book, blah, 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 blah. No, he saw the new president coming in. He's like, oh, you're a Democrat, but I don't care. Look what we did to help Americans in case there's a horrible disease that comes.
Right.
It may never happen, but at least we'll be ready. And the Democratic president said, wow, that's a great idea. Can we use the same people you used, and so we can have some continuity and fix this? Sure, no problem. Great.
Yep.
I don't know what the next guy did with it. I heard he used it as he sat on it or something, but
he threw it out and he closed down the agency because it had Obama's name on it at the time.
Right. And I don't understand that. Like, I couldn't. Look, I'm sorry. I could hate your guts,
Sorry on that, but
and I'm not going political. I'm
Yeah.
just saying I could hate your guts. But
But
if you
again,
come up with an idea, if you
see,
come up
again,
with an idea to keep it safe,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. The first two, it was about the country, about trying to
right?
protect.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
And last one, it was about me.
Yeah.
Me. Petty bullshit.
Yeah.
And many people paid the price for that.
That's all I'm saying. That's the classic example. Look, I may disagree with you. I may disagree with you while we're doing that thing. But you got the idea that's going to help people. Okay, what do we do?
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like The Walking Dead. Rick wasn't the best leader, but he was the only one with the ideas. So,
You know what I think would help? Honestly, somebody said this, and I can understand it in one aspect. Obviously I can disagree with it. We need a nuclear bomb level event.
Oh God.
No,
Oh,
think about it.
No.
No. Think about it. When we invented the nuclear bomb and we did test it, and people saw.
Oh, you mean in Manhattan?
I'm not talking about drop. Yeah, I'm not talking about dropping.
You're talking about Manhattan.
Yeah, I'm not talking about dropping a bomb.
So
I'm talking
you're about dropping nukes a couple
no,
places.
no. But we need. But you think about that. People understood that there was once they saw this fucking huge mushroom cloud and saw the devastation. People understood and knew we need to fucking think about humanity and not be so. And we haven't had an event like that. You know what I mean?
you know why?
Or a discovery like that.
I agree. Discovery. I agree with you, Jim. But here's why I think it's not going to work. Because when Russia invaded the Ukraine, people forgot what was in the Ukraine until they realized what was in the Ukraine. And it's not oil. It's not this. It's not that. It's fucking Chernobyl. And the Russians went in there. With tanks and started shooting and stuff. And I'm not saying around near where Chernobyl was. They were at the fucking reactor. If there's any place where you go, whoa, everybody stop. You know what I mean?
Well, you got to understand that
zone. Yeah, they camped out in the radiated zone. That's
you got to understand, though, the history of Ukrainian borders, though.
No, I get it. But I mean, at that point,
I understand what you're saying. I get it. You're close to the nuclear. Yeah,
you're next to it.
Yeah, you're right next to it. Like, let's chill the hell out here. But you really got to understand the history of the Ukrainian borders. They've always been in flux.
Yes.
They've been by different countries.
See, because if that's me, I turn and go, okay, you know what? Hold on. Hey, Japan, come here. You guys stay here. We're going to avoid this area so nothing blows up, and let's press on. So, Jesus Christ.
What's the fear of Russia invading Ukraine?
What's the fear?
What's the fear? What's the fear of the result of them invading and winning Ukraine?
Well, if you read what they're putting out to their own people, a lot of their bloggers are talking about next stop Berlin. So you tell me.
Okay. Now, do you think, knowing Putin understands international law, that he would take that next step?
I don't know, because honestly, when he talks about recreating the great Russian Empire, you have to wonder what's going on in his head. Right. You know, there was speculation that maybe he's sick and dying, but maybe it's just one of those things that he wants to leave a legacy because he misses the old days.
Good. Nobody knows, right?
No.
Do you think, where do they stand in terms of green energy, or using green energy as a source of transportation, power, heat?
What, Ukraine?
No, Russia.
No idea.
What do you think the benefits of us holding? What do you think the benefits of us for the United States are if Ukraine wins that war?
I think
what do we get out of it, other than the
alleged
safety that he's not going to invade Berlin? And Outside of that, what
What
advantage?
it does, it creates a check on the Russians.
Okay.
Because think about whatever we spent in the Lend-Lease stuff we've given them, the obsolete equipment and guns and ammo and shit we've given them. We've wrecked the second most powerful military in the world with almost no cost to American lives.
Well, no, I get that. Okay. But in the end, what other benefits could we reap from Ukraine?
Well, if Ukraine wins, it will
Outside
become,
of that,
it will
Ukraine
become
wins, Russia settles down. Where do we go from
EU.
there?
It becomes part of EU. It gets all the benefits of full.
So that puts the UN closer to Russian
Sure.
borders.
Yeah,
NATO.
And
Yeah,
makes them
the Russians aren't happy about that.
and makes him even more edgier.
Look,
than
I've never
possible.
been a fan of the fact that since the 90s,
Hmm.
NATO is crept eastward toward Russia.
Yeah.
I get that. I understand how the paranoia that would create, because again, you're talking about after the wall fell and everybody was friends for like, a couple of
2
years,
minutes.
they had this conference of Navy officers in Moscow. And these were guys who grew up with the Cold War. They spent their entire careers playing, cat and mouse with the fucking Russians. So the Russians and them are talking. And one of the things that came across was that how paranoid the Russians truly were about NATO invading them. Now, again, you got to look at the Russians. They got invaded by Napoleon. They got invaded by Hitler. So they still had all those. That's fresh memories for them, So I can get how they weren't happy when all the Baltic countries and Poland and all these countries joined NATO.
Right.
But on the flip side, all those countries have been invaded by Russia. So all of them were like, no, we did that. We're not doing that anymore.
Right.
So you have this weird disconnect between the two different cultures because, again, we try to think of Russia through Western eyes.
Of course.
Russia is completely different animal.
Yep.
I mean, they have almost, if you go conservatively, almost 500,000 dead and wounded just trying to invade Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
But they are like, okay. They have no problem with that.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset. And it's hard for us. Americans always have a problem trying to figure out what other countries' thought processes were.
No, you never will because you're only told what, the media tells you about a particular,
That I think a lot of times we just oversimplify shit. I remember Dick Cheney, when he was still in office, talking about when we go into Iraq, how they're going to throw flowers in front of our tanks. And that lasted about 30 days until we decided to bounce everybody who was in the Ba'athist Party out of office.
Yeah.
That was school teachers, that was clerks, because you had to be in the Ba'athist Party to get a job.
Yeah.
So if you automatically write this thing, and the first thing you did, you came in there, and one, you didn't have a plan to do shit after you got there, right? So you don't have a plan. So nobody's picking up sanitation, nobody's getting paid. So they're already kind of like, what's going on? And then the second thing you do is fire everybody in the Ba'athist Party. So that means all the policemen, all the soldiers, all the doctors, everybody's fired.
Everyone.
So you automatically created an insurgency from that day on.
Yeah.
And again, it's just basically Americans have this arrogance that somehow we know how to do shit, get shit going.
Right.
So here again, it's just bad thinking,
long term.
Yeah. We could be misreading this, Yeah.
Let's say Ukraine wins, Russia settles down. They're no longer pushing forward. They become part of the UN. What do you think the Ukrainians will do to pay back some of that money that was sent? How do you think that they will?
I think they would become what Germany became to us after World War II, or Poland is what Poland is now. You become a friend forever.
Marshall Plan.
They will spend every dime they can get buying American equipment, American guns, and all kinds of shit, which
How
makes us rich.
I have another theory.
Okay.
What is Ukraine rich in?
Wheat.
What else?
Sunflower seeds.
Lithium mines.
What?
Lithium mines.
Really?
Yeah.
Back to
Or
yeah.
batteries.
Yeah. Look it up.
That's interesting.
Yeah. That puts
Car
a little.
batteries,
That's like-
laptop.
That's
Does
why
it? Yep.
trying to
Puts
make,
a,
inroads
Yep.
in Afghanistan.
yeah. Think about it. Right.
That's
So what is
superconductor chip.
what is
Yeah.
one of the big pushes of one of the political parties here in the United States?
Green energy.
Right.
Look, I don't doubt any of that shit. But again, that's chess level. That's 3D chess level shit that you're talking about. And you're talking about basically,
4D.
yeah, 4D. You're talking about trying to secure resources for the next 100 years. That's basically what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Which is exactly what's going on right now. You remember Wagner?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
they're in Africa. What are they doing in Africa? They are securing countries that kicked U.S. out. You know, Nigeria,
France.
a bunch of countries
Mhm.
securing mineral rights and protecting mineral rights. That's what they're doing. Why? Because Russia needs those minerals.
Do you think that people who are looking to that as a source of future income and future financial gain and back certain political parties aren't playing 3D chess with that?
Sure, they are.
Come on.
Sure.
Of course they are.
You can't tell me no one in Wall
You
Street
can't-
figured it out.
No,
Yeah.
you can't tell me nobody said, oh, they're high in lithium?
Yeah.
They got lithium mines over there?
Look, there's nothing worse than having a country that has nothing. You know,
Of course.
like I remember years ago, I was watching something they were talking about Jordan, right? Country Jordan. Jordan's one of the few countries in the Middle East that has nothing but cement. They make cement more than anything else. I said, damn, you talking about just the unlucky portion of the world where there's no fucking oil, no resources other than fucking making cement. I'm like, really? And again, it's just look at a draw. I mean, how many fights do we have to have over Afghanistan? And like you said, there's minerals up the ass in a country that doesn't care about minerals. What the fuck, man? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, like,
Lithium. That's interesting.
yeah, it is. It really is. I was like, really, I just happened to come across that, and I looked up further, and sure enough,
So that might be
lithium
part of
mines.
his motivation for trying to. I mean, he's been slow roping, invading them for the last 15, 20 years now.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, he
Yeah.
started. Yeah, he started
The
at one.
Donbass and Crimea.
Yeah,
Wow.
but interesting, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. It
So we
just
need a world map of all the lithium hotspots
yeah.
just to figure out where the next crazy
Yeah.
is going to pop off.
You think
Bolivia.
about it, though, you know.
That'd be
And then,
interesting.
and then
Find
you
out where else. is
well,
there.
you start up as part of the initiative. You start up factories, lithium mining, not mining factories, but what are they? They're kind of like you have to do something to the lithium before it's usable.
Refinery.
Yeah, refinery. You
Yeah.
start up,
Mm.
and they already have. We already have them started. I forget which states that they started them in. Why would you start them without having a really good supply of?
I'm sure we have our friends that who have lithium under their feet.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And again, much like oil, we have plenty of oil here, but we get it from everywhere
Get
else.
it from
because
everywhere
we
else,
don't
right?
use up
Well-
our shit first, right?
Well, the petrodollar is that's stalled, right?
Yeah, it's
So
all right.
yeah, since Saudi said, yeah, no, thank you.
Look, again, it's gonna be funny that the day that the oil dries up in Saudi Arabia is gonna be the last day anybody has anything to do with them.
Well, again, is that a push for the digital currency, the use of
Yeah.
digital currency. You know?
I'm not buying no fucking bitcoins.
No, I'm
crazy.
not. I'm not suggesting.
No,
I don't think that Bitcoin's the route to go, but I think that there is certainly an undercurrent push for a digital currency, starting first, of course, with a universal digital identification.
oh God, yeah,
You know, and you
yeah.
think about it, we've already well, they kind of put a stop to the CBCDs, the use of CBDD, but it was only the term, not really a digital currency. If you read the bill, it doesn't stop the use of a digital currency. It just stops the naming of calling it a CBCD, which is really interesting.
So many games.
Oh my God, it's scary. You know.
Yeah.
It could really it could turn a person into a conspiracy theorist like in a drop
Oh,
of a hat. But
you
when
can,
when
bro,
you
you
see
can see
certain
how
shit,
people just get that. They get the hat on, and
yeah, it's
before you know it, they're believing everything that's going
yeah.
on.
No, you always have to take everything with a grain of salt.
I take stuff with a grain of salt, and I try to confirm most of the shit I
Yeah.
come. Because honestly, otherwise you're sitting there going, "See, that's exactly what
Yep.
happened."
Yeah. But and again, that's also part of the dangers of people just spitting out, misinformation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but then again, if you look what happened in COVID, during COVID, you look at what we know now versus what we didn't know and what was being enforced during, you're kind of like, hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have been so quick to like crush people and who had like differing opinions on treatments and things like that, because looks like they might have had something there,
So much panic.
I think, yeah. Oh, I definitely think panic played into it.
I think panic.
Sure.
I remember I think it was like, because everything in Delaware got started shutting down in March, about mid-March. Not sure if the supermarkets were going to work, hoarding like canned food, MREs and shit like that.
Wiping packages off.
Yeah, honestly, you didn't know. I mean, who knew that supermarkets were going to be considered first responders?
Well, listen,
critical.
There were people who knew. There were people who understood that.
General public.
No, yeah, general public. There were biologists that understood viruses and said,
Sure.
We're not treating this like any other normal virus that we would treat, and maybe what we're doing is a little bit, crazy, and we need to kind of slow down. But those types of people were shut down.
Well, you also, if like you just said, if you throw out the playbook, the pandemic out, and you close down the offices and you let people go who are experts in this, you're starting from zero.
Right. And that's what happened. I mean,
that's exactly what happened.
I just hope that, like, if something like that.
The other thing, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I had to use a different set of headphones. The other thing,
turn down your volume just a little bit, maybe.
Okay, hold on one second.
Mic volume.
Yeah.
Working hard. Is that better?
Better. Yeah, much better.
Yeah, much better.
Excellent. Sorry about that. Yeah,
no worries.
The thing that, and we talked about this a second ago. Do the best for the people. Just put your shit aside. I understand you got to fight for your party. I get it. That's fine. But put aside when shit hits the fan. Put aside everything and help the people. Not a single one of them did that. Maybe 2 or 3 of them did, and that's what bothers me. And before I go any further, or before anybody goes any further with it, COVID almost killed me.
Yeah.
I was in the hospital for 9 days. Signed a DNR, all that shit. But COVID did kill my dad.
Yeah.
We're both diabetic. My dad had dementia at the time. So before I could do anything, he was out wandering. We got him back. He got COVID, and it went right into his lungs. Yeah. And we didn't know anything.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. No idea what was going on. No idea about
Yeah.
any of this. Like we were just saying, nobody knew nothing. But there
Right.
was a book that could have stopped that. And
Yeah.
that's what. And then none of these people that are supposed to be in charge to keep us safe, a lot like with these hurricanes and shit, were just really more interested in fighting each other because of their party instead of opening the book, going to page 27 and going, "Oh shit, do this." Oh,
Yeah.
we're going to do this. Instead of doing the right thing for the people, they did the right thing for their party or their pocketbook, and that bothers me. And that's why I don't, subscribe or I get into it or anything like that. And COVID, as you can tell, COVID makes you feel a little different about things. It's
Yeah.
just
No, I can well, I can
we
I can
should
definitely understand that. And
have
I think
all
the sad part is that people who we would normally listen to, there are doctors and people who were fighting this on the front lines that we would on any other given day, we would have taken their advice, we would have listened to what they had to say because they were opposing things or giving different ideas. They were immediately shut down and their livelihoods were taken in some cases.
Sure.
Their ability to do the thing that they were, some would say, put on the planet to do was shut down and taken from them. And when we get to that level of inability to communicate with one another, especially during a pandemic, it serves no one.
No.
Science is about questioning. That's what science is all about. Your fundamental of science is you question. Even if you have known facts, you question them and you rule
No,
out the things that don't work. You don't shut down
Jim,
ideas.
you
You
go
don't.
back to just the fact that for the last 40, almost 50 years in America, education has taken the low fucking dollar, right?
Oh,
So
always.
you have almost two generations, a segment of two generations that don't believe in science,
Yep.
don't believe in facts,
Yep.
and
I don't.
don't believe in people who know. If somebody has a master's degree in something, I might listen to them more than some fucking Yahoo on the internet.
Exactly. But you wouldn't shut down the Yahoo, right? Like you would still listen because, listen, questioning facts,
That is
not
the problem with questioning.
right,
I
right,
when
right.
you preach the opposite,
Right.
going that how
And
is what was that
unfortunately,
shit,
oh, go ahead. I'm
what was
sorry.
that shit that was for horses that they were telling everybody to take?
Ivermectin. But you got to understand, ivermectin is, yes, it was used for horses, but there's a human version that has been used for eons to treat. And what they found by using that with some of these people who are on the front lines, that if they treated people with it early enough and at the right timing,
They had a
it
positive.
abated it, it destroyed it, but nobody would listen. How do you not listen to that?
Yeah.
Even if it's wrong, right? Even if it's completely wrong, you still
Because
listen.
the sad thing is, I hate to say it, to play the devil's advocate, is that
Yeah.
if you are the healthcare community, right, and there's a possibility that this drug might work, and you give any type of nod toward it, you'll have people taking it 24/7, thinking that they're self-medicating. And they're going to
Completely.
you
The
know,
thing about ivermectin, completely safe, the human form, completely safe, been
see, that's
used
the problem.
forever,
They-
and
they-
it's cheap. It
just
costs
take-
nothing to make.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of things, like you said,
Yep.
there's a lot of that. Because again, how much would the big three pharmaceutical companies pushing to get their
Sure.
shit out?
Of course. And that's the stuff, like, it's like, okay, even if it didn't work, you still listen to those people who you would have listened to in the past on a, a mirage of other things because they're experts in their field.
Right.
All of a sudden, because you have this crisis, okay, all of a sudden you just shut them down and you destroy life. That was so handled horribly, horribly. And it's not part of how science works. You talk about listen to the science. Science starts with questioning.
Right.
know?
Question, trial and error,
Right.
observation.
There's a scientific method.
Right.
But man, we just we just cut things and cut people to like nothing.
I think of all the things, I mean, you're looking at it in hindsight, but I think one of the biggest things is the fact that out of most threats, some kind of unknown disease freaks people or anything else because you feel completely powerless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know,
Vulnerable.
you don't know anything. I guess that plays into that. So you're constantly desperately looking for an easy solution or any type of solution.
And look, I'm not like an advocate. You know, you hear these people, oh well, people need to be held accountable, and we need to X, Y, and Z. And my thing is, we need to learn.
Yes.
We need to learn from
You need
what
to
happened.
learn, prepare for the next one. Yeah.
Right. And if what was
That's it.
told and what was prescribed was wrong, okay, we got to move. You know, it's horrible. As horrible as it is, we have to learn from it, and we have to be prepared for the next one, to
Right.
know that we won't do what we did during this one,
Right.
and we'll save more lives, you know, than we do take them. And that's, unfortunately, I just don't think we can get there. I think our society
Not-
has been,
Not in today's climate. You like to think that maybe there's some professionals out there thinking that way, but I hope so. But I agree with you that in today's climate, we are so polarized right now that if something else popped up, we spend all day arguing about it
yeah.
and trying to figure out and working a problem.
Here's the first thing here's how you know whether or not your beloved leader, politician may not be on the up and up. We need to listen. We need to, you know, when they say, oh, we've got to we got to get past this. We got to take care of everybody. You know, everybody's important. But that guy over there is an asshole.
Yeah.
You know,
Good for him.
like,
That's it.
No,
That's
fuck
it.
that.
you know, except those people over there. They're real, you know,
No,
those,
fuck him. No.
fuck those idiots over there. When your politician and watch both politicians, they do it to no
They
end.
both do it. No, they all do it. It's
They
not, and that's
all
not, and
do it.
let
It's
me quickly. We're not picking a side here. They all do it.
Yep.
No,
It's
one
funny.
of the most cringiest moments I remember over the last 15 years was when Hillary became a senator in New York, right? And somebody tried to throw her a softball question. They were like, oh, so who's your baseball team, Hillary? And you have you have a 50-50 chance, right? All you got to say is one. She could not give a fucking answer. Even if you don't follow baseball, you could have said everybody would be good. Everybody would be,
I remember that interview. It was on Letterman.
you know?
It was on Letterman, that interview.
Yeah,
And the best
God, I was like, what the fuck? Just answer the goddamn question. Just pick one.
she couldn't answer it, but it
Couldn't
gets better because then somebody asked her how she would get home from a game.
Oh, for God's
And
sake.
she didn't know the road. She didn't know this. You want to
No.
be our fucking senator? No, I'm not going to
Listen.
bullshit.
I would have been completely fine
was-
if she said, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
a real
I would
answer.
have had more respect. That's
To be
like
honest,
the interview, or not the interview, during the debate, Kamala was like, and this, she's like, this, and you know she wanted to say
Oh,
asshole.
she wanted to drop.
yeah,
She wanted,
yeah.
I was just like,
She
just say
wanted
it.
to say
Just say it.
motherfucker so
Oh
bad.
yeah, or say something. Just say it. And it's just like,
No.
former
He
president.
almost
Like,
did, though.
It's one of the funniest times when somebody didn't say something, but everybody knew what she was thinking.
everybody knew. Everybody knew. I'm like, just say it.
She had said it, she'd have won the election.
It would be, she probably, yeah, she would have, you know, I would have been like, yes, finally, somebody is like being honest here. Somebody's saying something I think feel from the heart. I'll take that any day over the week than just propagating bullshit. Oh, I
Yep.
can't stand it, man. It's just like, I honestly, for one, this is 1 year where I can't wait for this election to be over.
Like you ever see oh, what the hell was the name of the movie? It was pretty much the John McCain movie where he,
Oh yeah, Woody Harrelson.
oh God,
It
dog
was
it.
an HBO movie.
Yeah. What I
Yeah,
found funny about
forget
that
his name,
was
yeah.
that Ed Harris playing him, and you realize how much he cursed when he wasn't in front of the camera. I was like, holy shit, this is funny. I never thought about it before, you know?
Yeah.
But he was old school. He didn't do it in front of the camera, but he sure as hell dropped the F-bomb off camera, you know?
Yeah. I think sometimes that's why people dislike Trump in some aspects, is that he isn't the norm. You know, he's not what politics is, normally what we're used to as
Yeah,
politics. And
there's
whether you like or hate or whatever, I don't really care. It's just I think that's part of the reason, is that he's so not the norm in terms of politics, that it's kind of like, ooh, that's kind of scary. We don't know what to do with that
I
on some
I'm gonna
level.
be honest with you.
think there's for some people that's a draw, right? I get that.
Yeah.
You know,
There's-
I growing up with him most of my life in New York City area,
Yeah.
I've never liked him, you know?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't about his
Thank you.
politics. He
Yeah,
flip-flops. But
Yeah.
I just
it's
remember
about
him
him, yeah.
constantly fucking over
Contractors and
average people. And I thought that was always wrong because he always to me always came across like a bully, and I hate bullies. So that
No,
was
There,
I get what
there-
you're saying. I see
I'm
why.
sorry.
Like if somebody only knows him from TV shows and
right. Like it's like
I get that. I see how
he's not the normal.
Right.
He's not the
I
normal.
think that was the attraction for his, when he beat Hillary,
I'm
was the
sure,
fact that
yeah.
he was an outsider, you know?
He was that. Yeah. Well, and that just begs to what people wanted.
Right.
I mean,
Something different.
separate him out of it. What were people looking for? They were looking for something that was not the typical norm.
I voted for her only because I knew she had the skill set to do the job. I hated her as far as personality or lack of personality or where the persona she put across. I always hated that, you know? And
I voted Johnson because
me
of
that.
that.
Right. I wanted somebody else, but she won the ticket. And I'm like, fuck, you know?
That's why I voted Johnson.
I get it.
I voted Johnson because of that and financial responsibility. I thought he was the most financially responsible out of all of them.
Right.
But there was a thing the other day, a couple weeks ago, I saw. It was this guy doing an interview. It wasn't a full interview. It was just kind of a bullshit interview, but it was with Trump, but they were on the golf course. And Trump wasn't doing his Trump stuff. It sounded like Grandpa Trump having golf. Oh, I see that maple tree there. But he was so personable and so just so nice to listen. Oh, did you see that maple tree? They put that there, a couple blah, 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 talking about a maple tree. He goes, oh, this golf cart's really good. I had them do this. The Secret Service doesn't like it because I try to speed with that. He's like, you want a Diet Coke? I love Diet Coke. He's talking about he's just being like a doty grandpa. And it was like, if they would present
I think that's the trick.
This,
yeah.
If they didn't present him the way if he didn't present himself the way he presents himself, if he presented himself like this, then we'd see something different, I think. But not that I'm saying I'm going to vote for him because
I don't think both
I'm
parties are happy with with their are 100% happy with their candidates. Trust me. I think that was self-evident in that vice president debate. I mean, that was such a normal debate. You know what I mean?
I think
were like politics.
As you progress in the evolutionary scale of politics, by the time you start running for governor, you are presenting yourself as something other than who you are.
Yeah.
You know, because it's at such a high level and all this other stuff, and you try to project what you think people want to see. Meanwhile, you're being complete opposite when you're off camera. And I think that's unfortunately part of the beat.
The kayfabe.
You never see, like whenever you see somebody just relax, or better yet, when they're after the career's over. Like I like W after his career's over.
Yeah,
I think Obama fantastic after his career was over. Because now they're just being themselves. No longer worry about every single word, every single look. You remember the controversy that came off at Obama wearing a tan suit. That was so long ago and so
Christ.
so
Yeah.
quaint. You're like, wow, that was a big scandal. You know, you're like that.
That's what we're concerned with.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
That's a
But
so.
what it
It's
was,
almost
but
like
here's
if you're
the thing.
talking about something from like 1910. You're like, oh, that was such a simpler time. You know.
all right, I'm
could
going to
speak,
step
though,
away for a
goddamn.
second, guys. Talk amongst yourselves.
He
I gotta
could
step away for a
speak
second.
though, couldn't he? He could speak though, couldn't he?
Yes, he did.
He
He had a
golly.
you know.
Yeah.
Like W was funny because W
Yes.
always seemed like he was trying to tell a joke, and nobody
Well,
else was getting. You know.
But he felt like
It
your dad. W felt like your dad's older brother.
Yeah. You
know, he had that feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of trusted that, and I
Yeah.
trusted the fact that okay, at least he has his dad's guys behind him, and
Right.
that should be okay. Actually, he
Yeah.
should be okay. So he didn't bother me so much. I did vote for McCain the first time
Right.
because I mean John McCain.
Right.
I mean Jesus, and I did vote for Obama the second time. Not because I didn't like Mitt Romney. I do kind of like Mitt Romney, especially after this last thing when he told Santos to go fuck himself. But but that was cool. You don't
Yeah.
belong here. Don't you dare
Right.
talk to the president. He's not even your party. I don't care. Don't talk to him. I
Yeah.
love that. But I didn't like Paul Ryan I don't like Paul Ryan.
No.
And I didn't want him anywhere near the White House. So
No.
I just did. But anyway, I'm waiting for Jim because then I gotta run. But
All right, I'm back.
there's a congressman, I forget his name. He's from North Carolina, and unfortunately they reset his district, so he's gonna disappear. So he's been on TikTok, and he's the epitome of I don't give a fuck. He's telling everybody exactly what's happening. He like during the whole speaker thing, he gave you the best information of what was happening. And he goes, listen, I need you to understand things. You're seeing certain people talk all the time because that's what they do. That's all they
That's
do.
what they do.
And then he's talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene and this
Of
one and that
course.
one.
Yeah.
All they're doing is talking because they want their TV time. They don't do anything else. They don't do anything of substance. And he's because they redid his district. He's done when he's done. So he doesn't care. So he's just sitting there telling me like they're just there for TV time because they think that's what blah blah blah.
When you got somebody like her who spends the entire time talking about secret Jewish satellites, laser satellites, and weather machines and all this bullshit, and then bitch and moan that nothing gets done. You said, well, yeah, nothing gets done because they're talking about fucking space lasers. You come up with
the space lasers are real. I just want everybody to know. All the
She
listeners.
attacked.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
attacked another congresswoman. I think she was from Texas, and she said something about her and blah blah blah. She wouldn't know a gun. She wouldn't know this. She wouldn't know this.
Yeah.
And when the congresswoman, when her time came, she goes, "Ma'am, I'm from Texas. If you don't think I know my way around a gun, you are dumber than you look."
That was one of the funniest diatribes I ever heard.
Right? Okay, good.
He just owned her. Yeah.
Owned her. Like totally just shot down every.
Now she's up. Taylor Greene's upset because people are using the lines from that tirade against her now. You know?
Too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
should have wore her peppermint flavor shoes. They would have tasted better.
That's right. You know.
Fucking
It's just like, look, I don't mind. Look, if people say, well, what kind of Democrat would you want to get into her seat? I was like, you know what? I don't care who gets her seat. It could be it could be a staunch 95,000-year-old Republican.
Somebody with some
care.
brain cells.
Yeah, somebody. I feel terrible for the people of her district. The people of her district are terrible. My district here on Long Island. The last for like 2,000 years, it was Tom King, who was staunch Republican. But you know what? He fought for stuff on Long Island. So
right.
Like, all right, he's
That's
still
what he's supposed to do.
Party line,
right?
But he's doing stuff for his constituents. Okay. Right now we have Steve Garbarino, another Republican. But you know what Steve Garbarino is doing? Fighting for stuff on Long Island. And if it means sometimes he has to team up with other New York congressmen or other New York senators,
that's what he's supposed to do. Right. That's
right.
Right.
I feel very comfortable that even though it's not somebody who I agree with 100%, he's fighting for me, so I'll help you out. You know?
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Like, okay, the strongest thing I have for a politician besides my vote is I'm bilingual. Spanish is actually my first language. I learned it first out here on Long Island. I live in Brentwood, so if anybody knows anything about Long Island, they know it was mostly Puerto Rican when I was born. So I already set up the things for when Garbarino runs again. I'll phone bank for him in Spanish, just because I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, but I like that he's fighting for us.
Right. That makes
Her
sense.
last 2 elections, even though she's nowhere near my district, she's in the Bronx and Queens, but because I believe in what she's doing, I have phone banked in Spanish for Ocasio-Cortez because I like what she does. I like what she's doing, not just outside for everybody, but she's doing stuff in her district. So the people in her district are better off because of her. I like that. I'll do that. And I don't care what party you're in. If you're fighting for us, $7 a gallon for milk, when milk is more expensive per gallon than gasoline, we have a fucking problem. You know?
Especially when the push was got milk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
no, I don't. No. Like,
No, now the new
unless
slogan
I'm-
is got milk. No, I don't. No, it's
No.
too expensive.
Like, unless I have a goat or a cow in my backyard, I don't.
That's okay.
And
You
I'm
know
getting
why?
there.
You know
Cheaper,
what?
yeah.
Milk was designed to grow 1,000-pound
No, I know.
cows. It wasn't designed for humans. Right?
Yeah.
You
Right.
don't see a
Look, I'm
monkey
all-
in nature go suck on a giraffe's tit.
Look,
Right?
here's my thing. Look, at this point, I'm over it, and I'll leave y'all with this. I'm over it. If I don't have the money now, but if I ever won like those mega, not $1 million, not $2 million, but that like obscene $400 million thing,
Yeah.
I'll pay the church a little bit. I'll give my mom's okay. I'll make sure my sister's okay. I'll break some of y'all off, help some people out, and then I'm taking my money. I'm buying 25 acres someplace quiet, getting a solar array, rainwater collection, and a shotgun, and maybe a greenhouse, and I'm gone. You'll never hear from me again.
That's it. I'll just disappear off the grid.
Just disappear. What's Pete doing? He's hunting and growing vegetables and
Yeah,
fucking collecting rainwater. But what's he doing? He's happy. I just know he's happy. I don't know where he is, but
Ever
I can
since he
feel
won
him
that
being
money.
happy. Oh, because I don't have to deal with any of this bullshit.
Dude,
I hear you.
100
Well,
I
listen.
don't
Let
know
me.
what it is, but that is a common dream of our age group.
Oh my
That exact
God.
thing you said. Everybody I know
We're-
would say the same shit, man.
Well,
Gen
listen.
X just wants me to.
Just
We
disappear.
want what we always had. Leave me the fuck
Yeah.
alone. That's where I like to be.
Yeah. Let me steer the conversation away from politics, and let's steer it to something, a topic a little bit more important. UFOs. What's your take? Real?
Fantastic.
Not real?
Well,
UFOs. Come on, let's go deep into the conspiracy.
I used to
yes,
to,
but they hate us, so they're not coming. And with
Do
that,
they
gentlemen, I have
exist?
to
First,
go.
let's start with: do you think they exist?
Yes.
I think there's unidentified things, but I don't think they're UFOs.
Okay.
I used to, but after watching Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about the vastness of space,
Mm.
I think the chance of someone coming here about zero.
Huh.
It's just because
Gentlemen, thank you very much. I have to run. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right.
We
Thank
enjoyed
you.
having you.
nice talking
Thank
to
you.
you.
Talk to you
Thanks
later.
for joining us. Thank you for being
Thank you.
level-headed and talking amongst
Oh, dude,
my
I love it.
craziness.
I love it. This
know.
felt good. It was relaxing. Normally, I'm tired after a stream, but this felt good.
All right, man. You go take care of yourself. Have a
Talk to
good
you later.
night. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
You
All
too.
right. Bye-bye.
What do you think?
I think just mathematically it's possible, right?
Okay.
That there is life out there outside of
No, I
ours.
believe there's life out there.
Whether it's visited us, yeah, I could understand that mathematically. What are the
Right.
chances? But if it did happen, at one point, would we hold the interest of higher intelligence? To have like a repeat performance kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I pondered the thought that we could be the offspring of some alien race that dumped us off here, like some little lost pets or something, or they breeded with some mammals from the past. It could be 100 million different reasons, but like you said, mathematically, if you look at all the stars and you figure out all the planets on the stars, I believe there's definitely life out there. Is it anything we've ever seen before? I doubt it.
Right.
And also that current thought process that somebody had about timeline. If another species grew up, like life grew up in a different place,
Mhm.
how did they evolve past the point of self-extinction? Now that's
Right.
part. that they try to figure out. So yeah, I think there's possibilities. And again, we don't know. What if every alien or UFO sighting was just somebody in a time machine coming back for a tourist visit? You know, we wouldn't know that. There's no way of knowing that.
Well, before it was popular, when I was younger, I had the theory that, if you think about it, the Earth gets hotter, right?
Yeah.
We go underground. As we go underground, what happens? Our eyes become larger.
Yeah.
As our technology becomes more advanced, we no longer need food. We synthesize food, so we lose our mouths. As our brains become larger and we become more intelligent, we learn how to communicate without words. Since we're underground, we become grayish in color. We become thinner because we're no longer eating the fatty foods. So
Right.
maybe aliens are just, like you said, us from a different time period, and we figured out how to jump back in time and observe things.
Yeah. I mean, it could be something as sci-fi heavy as that. I mean, again, until a UFO lands on
on the lawn. Yeah, you're not gonna know. Yeah,
lands on the Great Lawn in DC, we won't know.
yeah, true.
Then again, if it did happen tomorrow, how many people wouldn't believe it? Even though it's the person walking and talking to you in different languages and all kinds of shit, and we'd still be like, no, that's all.
That's fake.
That's all. That's the Chinese.
It's AI.
It's AI because we're stupid that way. You know?
Yeah, true. Okay, next topic. What's your favorite sandwich? Go.
Oh, I have no idea. Chicken cutlet or Italian hero?
How about you, Q?
It can be anything that has either with beef or chicken or salmon.
Okay. Salmon sandwich. What
Cubano.
about you?
Cubano. I like a nice Cubano.
Okay. Had a good
Nice.
Cubano in years.
Yeah. Do it right. Yeah, I got nothing else. Let's see. We did politics. We did aliens.
Well, this is
Sandwich
a
meats.
long stream. If you think about it,
It is a long stream. All right, guys. I'm gonna.
this is like four Rich's.
Yeah, we covered like an entire month of rich streams. And we didn't have to hear him yell. That was the best part. Oh God, his voice just. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I kid rough. Rich is a good guy. He really is. He's a little out there, but he's all right. We
He's
still
all right.
let him in. You know, he's kind of like that pet that it's a little mangly and yeah, it's all right. Oh, Pops! I didn't see Pops was there. Hey, yo, what's up, Pops?
I'm gonna have to get off, man.
All right, no worries. Love the drawings, guys. I've just been playing with literally with tinfoil. No, seriously, gluing it to
Making it a hat. Making it.
Oh,
nice
no. I should be. No, for sculpture, I use it as like base, and then I put the clay over top of it. You know.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Well, it saves on clay. Clay. But so that's pretty much what I've been doing. All right, guys. Thanks for hopping in. Just remember when you're on Rich's show next time that you tell him what a great time you had here. It was
Next time
so much fun, informative.
Have early show. Invite him on.
He is so not going to come on my show. All right, guys. Seriously, you guys have a good night. All right.
You too.
All right. Take care.
Yeah. Peace.